Hello, my loves. How are you today? I'm a little bit tired, but since when is that a new thing? I'm tired every time we come to do stream. So, actually, today I have a little bit of jasmine green tea. For once, I'm not drinking decaf. So, we'll see if this is a bad decision. The last time I had the last time I had regular caffeinated tea, it was a little bit later in the night, and I didn't sleep too good. So, we're going to discover together whether this is a good choice. Hello, Kitty Tick. Hello, Penrose. What's up, Uncomfy? Hello, Gayfesh. And hello to the YouTube chat. There's a plenty of people over there in the YouTube chat. If you didn't know, we have a website. It's called luxander.net. And if you go to luxander.net/live, you can be part of the chat and have the custom emojis and all that fun stuff. What's up, Andes? Let me get this hair down. Curly hair. What are you doing? It's unpredictable. Hello, Mick. Anyhoozle. So today we've got a couple of things lined up. I know last week was mostly just a screw around stream. Today's going to be a little bit less of a just screw around the entire time stream. But it's still going to be a good time. It's still going to be a fun show, I hope. We have some things to complain about. We have some things, we have some news to cover. And we also have I have my list of kind of Queer 101 topics. And I'd like to do at least one of those. I think it's kind of gonna be like a last hurrah. Some queer content from this channel, like kind of sort of attempting to hit that demo of like, this content is evergreen. Anybody could come back to it at any time, as opposed to like super topical stuff. But we're getting close to the death knell of the political content on this channel. Getting very close, or at least the day-to-day political content. So enjoy it while it lasts. And then be prepared to engage in all of the ways when video essays start to come out. I'm still sort of collating a list as well. I'm not sure if I should go ahead and have a bit of a backlog of like, here's some content that I am like building up so that I can then release video essays like on a sort of schedule, instead of like, okay, I finished the first video essay, put it out there, and then kind of have to fall back on day-to-day political content again. There's probably going to be at least a little bit of overlap where daily political stuff is still coming out while video essays are coming out. But I'm kind of just still trying to work that out and figure out what's the best approach. But I'm having a great time. I posted a vlog on my Patreon earlier today for the $3 plus tier that kind of talks a little bit about like, I already feel a lot better. I already feel a lot better after having started to work on these scripts and like making the decision to move on from daily political stuff. So that's kind of what's going on with me right now. That's what I'm thinking about it. What's up, Sam? Is the Queer 101 content going to be mainly trans topics or LGBTQ in general? Well, I think it would be fair to say that it's going to be mostly... Well, okay, so here's the list as I have it now, and feel free to add anything that you think that we should cover. Someone suggested I should redo my How to Come Out as Trans video. Someone said I should redo the How to Know Whether You're Trans video. I did do a video not too long ago about transandrophobia, and actually we're going to be talking about transandrophobia again today, specifically transphobia against trans men. I've been thinking about redoing my bi versus pan video because I made that one a long time ago and it still gets clicks to this day. Bisexual versus pansexual. I haven't done a video in a long time explaining what non-binary is, so I could do that over again. I wanted to talk about what detransitioning really is, because I think people have this tendency to... It's like if you stop hormones temporarily, they're like, oh, that's a detrans. Or like, I have been on hormones and off hormones at various times, but I haven't detransitioned at any point because I have always identified as trans. So I kind of wanted to talk about that. I made a video a long time ago about how to be an ally, and I could redo that. Some people suggested that I should talk about the, I guess this is trying to enumerate the difference between agender versus asexual versus aromantic. I'm not really sure what the broad idea was behind that, but it's written down on my list. Someone wanted to discuss the ace/aro spectrum, so like asexual and aromantic spectrum. So that's kind of a more general queer topic. The difference between sex and gender, that's some true trans 101 shit right there. I also have written down here gender plus anarchism. Kind of, that's less of a 101 issue and more of like a higher level issue of like discussing gender abolition versus gender anarchy. Because I think a lot of TERFs, when they say gender abolition, they mean bioessentialism. And when leftists say gender abolition, what they mean is something more like what I would describe as gender anarchy. Someone wanted me to talk about trans historical figures, but I don't know. That's not something, well, I don't know. That's just not something that really could go off the cuff. I would need to do a little bit of research on that. And then lastly, someone suggested the politics of you go low, we go high, which I guess we could talk about given the current political situation. I don't know. Everybody seems to be mad at me about my political takes recently, which is part of why I'm like, now is the time for me to stop talking about fucking politics. Because people are just not receptive to what I'm saying right now. Skeptoideus, welcome to the website. Thank you so much for joining. Dylan Puddles says, good topics all. However, what strikes your fancy? Not this anymore. Not this anymore. Quick question, how far left are you? Just curious to see if you're a fellow comrade, i.e. fellow socialist, or Sockdem fellow traveler. Welcome to the website, Sunflower. Great name. One of my favorite flowers, if not my favorite. Yeah, how far left am I? I think it would be fair to say that I am kind of an anarchist. Now, people get real confused and real upset when they hear the term anarchist. So let's just describe my political positions, okay? I think that governments, as they exist today, are woefully inefficient. They're more committed to the procedure than they are to the well-being of individuals. I think that there should not be a capitalist class. I think that you should not be allowed to own more than maybe 3 properties, and that's if you travel a lot. Like corporations should not be allowed to own housing. I think that we should make things because they benefit people and not because we can make a profit off of it. And I think that we need to basically dismantle the entire construct of fossil fuel production, even if that means we have to radically change the kind of lifestyle that we live in order to accommodate consuming less energy. So that's kind of broadly where I lie politically, if people are interested. And that's going to be the perspective that I still come at. So the thing is, if you haven't heard this already, which if you're here in the first 15 minutes, you've probably heard this already, but hit the like button if you haven't. That I'm really, really tired of talking about trans politics all the time. And as I've started to try to talk about regular politics, I'm finding that very frustrating as well. And also, it doesn't perform well on my channel. So I am phasing that out, and I'm going to start moving into video essay, media analysis type stuff. But that is also going to include political analysis. Like the script that I'm working on right now is talking about like survivalist capitalism versus cooperative communism in the post-apocalyptic setting. So I'm really excited about that video. It's going to be a good time. 38 viewers currently. Hello. There's 23 likes on the video. I would appreciate more likes, even if you're not going to stick around. This first hour of the show is typically the part where we just kind of talk about whatever. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's not. If you don't want to hang out with us, that's fine. Come back in like 45 minutes and we will start on the actual topics. Today's topics. So we're going to pick at least one of these Gender 101 topics, or sorry, Queer 101 topics to discuss. I want to talk about Lady Gaga and the way that she handled being transvestigated back in the day. Like, she's talked about it more recently, and she's like, yeah, there's a reason why I didn't say, no, I'm not trans, or no, I'm not a man. I really appreciate her approach on that. I want to talk about it. We're going to discuss the execution of Marcellus Williams. It's a whole clusterfuck. Basically, it's crazy, and I want to discuss that. I don't talk about her very often, but if you're familiar with Brianna Wu, she is a trans woman who was pretending she wasn't a trans woman publicly for a very long time. And she's had a lot of really bad takes recently. And just today or yesterday, I think, Gayfesh, I don't remember when it was, but I saw you tweeting about it. I'm blocked by Brianna Wu, so I only see her posts when people screenshot. But she's inserting herself into the conversation about how we discuss pregnant people or birthing people versus, like, typically we, like, in the political discourse, we refer to this as like a women's issue. So she decided to insert herself into that today. Thank you. Even though she is a trans woman who has nothing to fucking do with that conversation. Thank you very much. Which is going to lead us into the topic of transandrophobia, which we have discussed before. And then I want to discuss, but I don't know that I am going to do like a segment about it, but I have an article about something called Sentinel intelligence that I thought was really interesting. And so I just want to read the article and kind of talk about it with you all, even if we don't go, this is a segment, I have things to say. I have been out as NB longer than Brianna Wu has been out as trans. Truly. Isn't Brianna Wu a thing to begin with because she inserted herself into Gamergate despite not really being a feminist? So she was a topic of conversation during Gamergate. I think it was because, I don't know, did she talk about video games back then? Because, yeah, I remember people were accusing her of being trans back then, and then she didn't respond to that criticism at all. And now it's like, I feel like it's almost 10 years later. Isn't it? Is it like 9 years later after the whole Gamergate thing? And she's just now decided that, because she keeps shit-talking trans people in public, and so at a certain point you have to come out as trans, or people are just going to constantly think that you're just a huge bitch cis woman who won't shut up about trans people and how much you hate them. So she was making a video game at the time. Okay, thank you. And now it is 10 years later. Yeah, so I just think that, well, I can't remember what I got blocked for, but I've shit-talked her to her face before, and she blocked me on Twitter. So, yeah. Anyway. Luckily, I haven't heard any of your political takes in months as I've been busy doing nothing. Fresh ears over here. Oh, no. I've had a lot of fun with people asking me what my baby's gender is. I say, oh, I don't know yet. People joke and say, oh, can't you just look in the diaper? And I respond, oh, you're asking about their genital presentation. That isn't really your business, is it? They will figure out their gender when they do. That's fun. She still is a huge bitch who hates trans people. So, no, yeah. It's just that, like, I guess it's less of a bad look for her to be spewing internalized transphobia all the time, as opposed to it seeming like she's just a cis person who's transphobic. Anyway. Sorry, Rochester, I missed this earlier. I personally don't share the disdain for anarchists that many fellow Marxists have, since anarchists in this country are often trying to help the lumpen. Right. I think people just get really triggered by the term anarchist. Not necessarily that there's disdain, but that, like, one of the things is that people harshly criticize me for claiming to be an anarchist because I am going to vote for Kamala Harris. People are like, well, you're an anarchist. Why are you talking about voting? Like, because I'm not fucking delusional is kind of my response to that. Like, I still live in the world with you all just because I prefer a destructuring of states as we understand them now, or a restructuring on a more local level or whatever, doesn't mean that I refuse to participate in the system that I live in now. That's one of those things that people are really fucking annoying about. Anyway, I don't remember what video this was from, but I remember a video you made where you talked about recognizing and trying to stop being low-key misogynistic while affirming your own gender as a trans person. Yeah, I believe that that was basically like how to correct people when they misgender you. It was kind of a general how to correct people when they misgender you. And I wanted to just like touch on the, are we reinforcing misogyny as trans men or trans masculine people when we correct people? Like, let's not go, ew, I'm not a woman. Why would you think I'm a woman? Being a woman sucks, Like, there's a flavor of misogyny that comes through in that kind of conversation. Do you have a style in mind for your essays? Like Contra has the theater vibes, H-Bomber is meme flavored. Oh, I'm sure that it'll start out probably fairly milquetoast. Like, the essay that I'm working on right now is about The Last of Us. So it's going to have a lot of footage from The Last of Us, and probably mostly footage from The Last of Us, my voiceover, and then probably occasional me sitting in my chair talking, like peppered in throughout the video. Like, I'll deliver some lines, and that's partially just because some lines don't work well. Like, there's not really great footage. And I kind of like that mixture. I'm not sure if it's good. I don't know. What's people's opinions? Because I'm thinking of a Lindsay Ellis type thing where she has a voiceover part where she's talking about the media, and then she's got some parts where she's sitting in her chair, and like I'll have to develop a personality around it, because I know Lindsay Ellis does stuff like chewing gum or like eating hot Cheetos or something. So I'll have to kind of develop that, and it's gonna change probably as I'm like about to move, and this whole set is gonna have to move, and I'm gonna rethink the entire set. I'm changing the name of the channel, so I'm gonna potentially change the set to reflect that. I have an anarchist tattoo, and hooey, it brings up some fun conversations. Ooh, yeah. If you want to be a real anarchist, you have to move to the fucking woods or something. Honestly, I'm trying to. I'm genuinely. I'm trying to. I'd be voting for Stein myself. We talked about this last week. Jill Stein genuinely takes money from right-wing organizations, and she doesn't know how many members there are in the House of Representatives. So it kind of seems like she is genuinely a grifter. Lux, you looked so happy last week when you were talking about dragons. That's what I just want to talk about dumb shit. I just want to talk about dumb shit. Is it gay for a non-binary person to be attracted to a binary gender, or is it straight? Everything a non-binary person does is queer. That's my official opinion about that. Drink tea, everybody. Ooh, can we get to 50 likes real quick? Is that doable? There's honey in my tea. Man, jasmine tea with honey, it hits. It's very, very yummy. So I've got my The Last of Us script working on. I'm pausing the BoJack script for now. I might come back to it later, but it's just bogging me down. And then I'm thinking maybe I'll make a couple of... You guys have requested that I rank dragons, or that I do videos talking about dragons in TV shows or movies where How does the CGI look? What about the voice or like whatever? And of course, I'm going to talk about the realism of the physics of its flight and stuff. So I think I might do a couple of those and just kind of prepare that stuff to come out. Because I was kind of thinking, guys, as I'm transitioning, like I have all these projects that are going to kind of take a while. And yes, I agree. BoJack Horseman is awesome. It's a great show. It's just kind of hard to watch sometimes, and I'm not in the mood right now. Uh, but I was kind of thinking I should try to come up with some short videos that are in that kind of video essay, media analysis genre so that I could create more of them relatively quickly and then kind of move into the broader things. Like smaller projects that I could put out while I'm working on my bigger projects or something. Anyway. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, we're getting so close to 50 likes. 50 likes. 50 likes. Yeah, activator term transition. I know, my channel is transitioning right now. So is Transatlantic Call-In Show, which I'm going to be on tomorrow, by the way, if anybody was wondering. Transatlantic Call-In Show, as far as I know, is at 2 p.m. Central tomorrow, as usual. I just tried Liquid Death's line of teas. They are like Arizona tea, only better. I've never had Liquid Death. Fun. Yeah, BoJack is amazing, but I did not sign up for that Feels trip. Can't handle it most of the time. When I first watched BoJack Horseman, the only up to season 3 was out on Netflix. Like I was watching it originally while it was still coming out. So at the end of season 3 is when BoJack's best friend is like basically yelling at him, being like, it's not your shitty family. It's not your unsuccessful career. Like, it's you. You're the problem. It's you. And I was like, wow. I was in a very rough place in my life at that time, and wow, I did not need to hear that. It was hard. What changes is Takis going through? We're reintroducing the competition part of the, like, when people use their super chats to vote for one person or the other. We are restructuring when we do certain things during the show. Like, we're taking calls first and, like, basically just restructuring the actual show itself. And there have been some requests about doing Takis later. Like, I think the original reason why the Transatlantic Call-In Show is being done at 2 p.m. is because Katie Montgomery, who lives in the UK, was on the show often. She's really not involved anymore. She hasn't officially stepped down, but she's taking like an extended break, and we are not sure if she's going to come back. And we have received some notes that it might be best to move Takis to the evening slot, because basically all the rest of the shows on the Line Network are at 6 p.m. Central Time. So we've heard some feedback that it might be good to move the show to later, but we're still thinking about that and still workshopping it a little bit. I need to get some sleep before work, but before I go to sleep, I must ask, how heavy do you get? I don't like music that much. And if I'm going to listen to music, it's probably not going to be anything on that list. I mean, sure, I've heard Tool songs, I've heard Disturbed songs, I've heard Slipknot, but most of the rest of that is not really up my alley. Noah says we were talking about dragons on the line over the weekend, and I was like, where is Luxander when we need them? Yeah, how dare you talk about dragons when I'm not around? Unfair to call her a grifter without honestly investigating her policies. Well, it's that people have credibly pointed out that she has accepted money from right-wing organizations. And she... So here's the thing, too, guys. When you're in politics, here's how it works. You go for a local office first. If you genuinely want to work your way up in politics, you get a local office. Like you go... Here's how it typically works. You go for the House of Representatives in your state first, and then you go for the Senate in your state, and then maybe you run for governor, or you run for federal House of Representatives, and then, yeah, but Jill Stein, I'm not talking about the Green Party. Yes, the Green Party has done all kinds of stuff. Jill Stein is the one who I called a grifter, and so I'm clarifying my statements about her. You don't just run for president out of nowhere. Jill Stein has not held any local offices as far as I know. I looked it up recently and I'm pretty sure she has not held any local offices, right? You could also join the Democratic Party and run as a vice president. But like, yeah, typically it's state house, state senate, and then governor maybe, or federal house and then federal senate. And somewhere in the mix there, after you've been in politics for a while, you run for president. But Jill Stein just kind of presents herself as a super progressive person, but she doesn't know shit about her like, listen, I'm sorry, Dan Quayle was ridiculed publicly for not being able to spell the word potato correctly. So if you don't know how many members there are in the House of Representatives and you've run for president like 3 times and you accept money from right-wing organizations, then the only reason I can see that you are present is to try to disrupt things. Like, you're not earnestly trying to win. You're not earnestly trying to change the situation. The effect of Jill Stein's presence in our system is that she basically tries to grift votes away from the Democratic Party. It would be great if we had a ranked voting system or something, but we don't. So the material impact of her presence here is that it hurts progressive policies, basically. It hurts the progressive cause. Feels like she's just manipulating those who are pro-Palestine into voting for her, TBH. She would not call Putin a war criminal. Yeah. Like, I recognize that the Democratic Party is not good. I just am saying, like, Jill Stein has a lot of criticisms against her as well. And, like, I do think that it would be good for the Green Party to build more power on the grassroots level, and that, you know, Jill Stein's time would probably be better spent running for smaller offices and wait until you have, like, a chunky voting block and you're actually siphoning power away from the Democrats before going on to the presidential thing. Are you doing a segment about her name? No, I don't care about Jill Stein. It's just that you people keep bringing her up in the fucking YouTube chat. Telecritter says, stopped in randomly, but this is a correct take. Nader was a famous known activist with many achievements. Stein is a liability. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a reason that Bernie ran for the Democratic nomination and didn't try to run a third party. Off topic, but is that the Star Spinner Tarot in the background? Yes, it is. Star Spinner Tarot. This is my my altar, basically. I really need to update it because it's currently decked out for Lunasa. And Mabon just happened, and I haven't updated it to reflect Mabon, but whatever, it's fine. I'm like most of the way through making a pumpkin to put over there. Pumpkin? Pumpkin. I set this project down because I was like, oh, I need to start making a bunch of mushrooms. I'm making favors for my friends at the Renaissance Festival, so I'm basically trying to churn out like 30 more of these tiny mushrooms. And listen, they're not the quickest thing in the world to make. Yes, I'm a big fan of the Lover's card variation. This deck comes with 4 different Lover's cards, and you can choose which one to have in your deck. Makes me feel like, you know, the deck can speak to you personally a little bit more. Yeah, we're talking about the Green Party again, Oxpecker. I'm sorry. The YouTube chat started talking about it, and I felt the need to acknowledge it.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, thank you. Oh, that showed up a lot sooner than I thought it was going to. Thank you so much. Is that Australian $5? Jace on. Hi, new subscriber. Love your takes. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. My goal today is 200 instead of typically my goal for these streams is 100, but I'm only streaming once a week right now. So if we get to 200, I'll do whatever you want. I'll flex. I'll go get the dragon horns and I'll put the dragon horns on. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Simric says, hope your day's going well. Can we have an update on your workouts? I haven't really been working out much lately because at the Renaissance Festival, I literally hike for like 8 hours both days on the weekend. So during the week, I'm kind of not exercising.
Oh, yeah.
Simric, thank you for the $2 super chat. It says, howdy, remember to drink water and exercise, team. Yeah, my water is empty, so I'll have to fill it. I have tea, but I will need to fill my water basically soon. But thank you. I appreciate the super chats. Donations directly through the website are typically better because YouTube doesn't take 30% of your money, but I still super appreciate the super chats. Aiming for the position that requires the broadest support without establishing an actual base of support will never get anywhere in the first past the post system. Yeah, it's frustrating. I understand Green Party voters. I understand why y'all are frustrated. I want to like honor. Yes, I have a White Leaf website. Yeah, 30% of your money they take on the super chats. So direct donations to the website are always appreciated. I also still have the GoFundMe open if you want to help with the moving across the country thing. Hair looks nice. Thank you. I always feel like I can't figure out what the hell my curls are doing, but I did a little protein treatment last night, and so it's looking really shiny. If nothing else, I've got shininess today. I can't wait till I have a standing desk. Guys, I'm getting really excited about moving, TBH. Like, I'm hoping that I'll be able to do more content on my side channel because I'll have a bigger community garden spot than I do right now. I'm pretty sure. It seems like the places that I could have access to a community plot are going to be bigger than the plot that I have right now, which is good. And yeah, I'm excited to like get into doing more stuff with that. But then also like ideally I will have a slightly better office setup situation, and I'm probably going to go ahead and change the background. At least I'll work toward changing the background. After I move, I might kind of do some of the same basic stuff at least at first, but then I'll change the background a little bit, especially because I'm changing the name of the channel. And I mean, I'm changing what I'm primarily doing, right? Primarily, I do this. I sit and I look at you and you're at this like angle to my side, but I'm probably going to start doing video essay content where I sit in the middle and I talk about the video essay stuff that I'm working on. And I'm going to get a standing desk where I can actually like have good posture. I'm getting excited. Got rated into Riverboat stream and saw you were live on YouTube, so they're apparently a hot topic right now. The Green Party, hot topic? I worry sometimes, like, what if I move to Oregon and suddenly Texas goes blue and Oregon somehow goes red? I mean, the great thing about moving to a place like Oregon is that it is kind of a red place in some areas, and you're bringing more blue voters there, you know? So it's basically like um, we're protecting the blueness of Oregon by moving there. I can take you mushroom foraging, so you don't have to worry about honing in on someone's spot while you learn about some of the local varieties. Mushroom pickers in the PNW can be wild and vicious. I am not surprised by that at all. There are morels up there, aren't there? At first, I was a little bit sad thinking like there aren't any morels, but you correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all have morels up there. Morel mushrooms are so good. Ugh. Someone gave us some this year, and I was like, I'm going to really relish these because I don't know if I'm going to have them again. Like, I'm never going to be in Kansas in the spring, you know? And like, you can't send them through the mail because they're going to go bad. You can buy dried mushrooms, like dried morel mushrooms, but it's not the same. I'll teach you mushroom identification if you come to Portland. I actually do have a book. I have a book called Mushrooming with Confidence, which is, it's like, here's how you can 100% positively identify several mushrooms. It's not like hundreds. It's like, here's a few varieties that are actually good to eat, like that they taste good and they have a good texture. So those are fun. Oh my God, that's so true. So first of all, yes, Oregon has only been blue since like 1994. It did used to be pretty conservative. There were sundown towns and everything in Oregon, okay? Oregon and Washington are both very west is left, east is right. That's true. Very true. Mushroom motherlode in Oregon. Listen, I don't want to get into it too hard right now, but I'm very excited. Like, I think the foraging prospects are going to be good. There is so much public land in Oregon, so there's plenty of places to go foraging. There's plenty of places to go hunting. There are so many different species that you can hunt. Like, breaded morels in butter are so yum yum. Ooh, typically what I do is I deep fry them in vegetable oil. Delicious. I do a very light breading with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper maybe, and yeah, they're delicious. They're so good. I don't have morels on my property right now, but I do want to buy some spore syringes and then create a patch by burning a bunch of detritus and dead trees because I like burnt stuff. I've never heard that morels like burnt stuff. I've heard that they tend to grow around dying trees. Not dead trees, but dying trees. I do have chanterelles, hedgehogs, lobsters, and bulos as far as edible varieties, and about 100 others I've seen. Oh my God. This is what, like, in several years, what I want to do is have enough land. I'm like, I feel like a minimum of 20 acres so that I have enough woods that I could forage and hunt in my little area. Probably not too much hunting, maybe like catching rabbits or whatever. But yeah, I would love to have enough land that I can forage it. But I will definitely drive up to Tillamook and take the opportunity to forage over there. Of course, it's your land. I'll share you some. I love hognose snakes. They're so cute when they play dead. Sam asks, how'd you get into tarot? I'm Romani and I've been reading tarot since 5. I have a complicated relationship with it. Do you talk to Roma about it at all? We worked a lot at Renfest. Did you learn there? So I am what you would call a skeptic. Like, I don't actually believe in any kind of insightful power. in the tarot. It's kind of, for me, just kind of a fun way of clarifying or clarifying your own intentions pretty much. And I've only gotten into it in the last year or two. And I have not talked to anybody who is Romani about it, I don't believe. I would love to see mushroom content from you. Ooh, yeah. Varmint or game hunting? At first, varmint, probably. I haven't started really doing it yet, but this year before I move, I'm gonna hunt rabbits. That's what the bow is for. I'm gonna bow hunt some rabbits. And probably not squirrels yet. I guess I can check and like, if I happen to run into some quail or something while I'm out and about, I could potentially shoot a bird. Sort of depends. And then I think as things develop naturally, first of all, I have to wait 6 months after I move in order to get a hunting license in the state of Oregon, which is kind of dumb. Like, if I tried to get a license before then, I would have to get a non-resident license, which costs like 10 times as much money. It's crazy. But yeah, so it'll probably not be until next autumn and winter that I'm really going to be in a position to go hunting for rabbits again. Because it's like, it's considered just generally bad vibes to hunt rabbits in the summer. If you can get a squirrel with a bow, you're a good archer. Yeah, if I hunt squirrels, I'm just going to use a 22. But yeah, so I'm sure as things develop naturally, I will eventually become a person who hunts deer and stuff, like eventually, as we naturally progress in these things. Any reason why squirrels are not usually eaten? I think it's mostly because it's just like a lot of work for relatively little meat on them. And I would say probably people are not used to the taste, so there's kind of a reflexive, oh, they don't taste good kind of moment. But yeah, squirrels are annoying and I hate them. They're cute, but they're annoying and I hate them. Squirrels are very lean. Yeah, squirrels, as I understand it, much like rabbits, you want to deep fry them or make them in a stew because they don't have very much fat. We have Drea saying squirrels are evil incarnate, and then Kitty follows up, they steal my nuts and cherries. I fucking hate squirrels. One time, I had like a small patio at this place that I was renting, and I decided I was gonna try to grow some tomatoes outside, and I got the tomato plant, and it was probably about that tall when I got it. And apparently, when you buy tomato plants, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to strip off some of the lower leaves and like bury like half of the plant underground so that it develops a more robust root system. So I did that, and there was about this much plant sticking up out of the soil, and the squirrels ate the plant. It's not like they, oh, they were eating all my tomatoes when the tomatoes started to ripen on the vine. No, 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 no. They ate my tomato plant all the way down to the ground. All of it. They ate all of it. Yeah, assholes. I grew up eating a lot of game meat and chicken. Red meat was a chore. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a huge pain in the ass if you shoot a deer in the middle of the woods. It's like, oh my god, I have to clean this thing and then drag it out of here or whatever. Don't squirrels also have the potential to carry plague? Like bubonic plague? I have not heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me terribly. Mostly, it's a danger with the. Oh my god! I even took a Ritalin later this afternoon. Come on, dude. The fleas. Like that's also part of why it's recommended that you hunt rabbits in the winter instead of the summer, because they'll have fewer fleas and ticks. And it's like getting bitten by the fleas that you can catch diseases like tularemia, That's the common one from rabbits anyway. I've seen the Mark Rober videos. Kitty says there are entire channels on YouTube of people setting up the most insane things to stop the squirrels from stealing their bird seed. Honestly, it is something I watch on occasion because it's just funny. I watched some Mark Rober videos where he was like, he created a squirrel obstacle course, And I do think that that stuff is, they're so tenacious. They have such tenacity, which is part of why they're so annoying. Squirrels are still not as bad as moles. Those things are everywhere here and love prioritizing any plants you want to keep. Ooh, that's rough. I fantasize about an indoor greenhouse vertical garden situation. Yeah, the obstacle course is really funny. I lost my spicy hot peppers to deer for what it's worth. The fucking deer. Dang. Yes, squirrels carry bubonic plague, endemic where I live. Oh, okay. Hmm. They're like little manic gymnasts. That's true. Kitty says moles are fine. Voles, however, they follow the mole tunnels and actually eat the roots of the plants. Moles actually mostly eat bugs. That's cool. Deer love peppers. They like spice. Are you saying that deers will eat spicy peppers? Do they also have the broken brain thing where they actually like capsaicin? Blackberries are the squirrels of plants. They're everywhere and you can't stop them. My mom actually grew jalapenos one year and the deer wiped us out. Well, tell them to stop it. Rabbits eat their young when they're starving. Actually, rabbits, the buck will sometimes eat the babies so that he can breed with the female again sooner, because so long as the female is uh, lactating, she doesn't get fertile again or whatever. Yeah, blackberries at least are yummy, but they will take over things, as I understand it. I don't think, I'm trying to figure out if there's any way to grow blackberries that isn't like an invasive problem waiting to happen, and it seems like there is no way. you know, if you grow them in a pot, they'll just branch out to the side and then go down. Yes, buck is the term for a male rabbit. I'm not sure if blackberries are considered an invasive species, but whether or not they're invasive, they spread very much so, and it is a problem. You can grow blackberries like you do grapes, growing them in a raised caged bed and cut them back constantly. When it's blackberry season, I literally just walk on a trail and grab some there. Capsaicin doesn't affect all animals. I mean, I was pretty sure it affects all mammals. It doesn't affect birds. But yeah, that's fun. And I want to become a hiking person. I like the idea of being a hiking person. So I can just consume lots of blackberries during that time of the year. Are blackberries, are they one of the ones that it's like basically impossible to mistake it for something else? Like once you learn what it looks like, it's just almost guaranteed to be blackberries. You can make blackberry jam or blackberry wine. Blackberry wine sounds good. In the PNW, you don't need to grow blackberries because the Himalayan blackberry, the one everyone hates, is designed to live in a rather harsh environment and thus dominates in these easy climates. So basically, if I buy any amount of land anywhere up there, it's probably going to have blackberries on it. That's what it sounds like. Mm. Tea. Honestly, tea is a great vehicle for honey. It's good stuff. The jasmine tea that I have has such an interesting mouthfeel. It's quite yummy. you will likely have some, and it will be a pain in the ass. Blackberries are pretty unique, though they also resemble boysenberries and raspberries. Well, hey, good. Those things are edible, as far as I understand. Boysenberries, edible, not poisonous. I guess, yeah, they're kind of unique with those little nodules. Each individual little thing on a blackberry is its own fruit. And that's why they're stone fruits. Have you seen the news about Jack Smith's case against Trump? No, I haven't heard anything about this. What is it? Something about January 6th? The round red berries are the real roulette. Yeah, I'll be good with that. Yeah, boysenberry, poisonberry. Just for funsies. You ever think about how grape nuts are neither grapes nor nuts? Hmm. Don't eat the white berries. I basically don't plan on it. I appreciate the heads up, though. Something about an indictment, a new election fraud case against former President Donald Trump. No, I don't want to look at ads. Thank you. As are white mushrooms. Yeah, and you have to be careful not to eat any mushroom when it's young because it's probably lacking a lot of the characteristics that make it distinguishable. Okay, someone wants us to talk about this. Let's see what we got here. So, the evidence will be powerful. Legal experts say Jack Smith is about to drop a bomb in the Trump case. Special counsel Jack Smith is expected to submit an oversized brief in former President Donald Trump's election interference case. The briefing is in the view of the judge overseeing the case, needed to respond to the Supreme Court's presidential immunity ruling. Okay. Smith requested permission to exceed the normal length limits for briefs, seeking to file up to 200 pages of argumentation in the case, which immediately drew comparisons to past special counsel reports like those from special counsels Robert Mueller or Robert Hur. This comes as a response to the Supreme Court's ruling earlier this year, which found the president enjoys broad legal immunity for official, quote, core constitutional acts. The Supreme Court ruling threw the prosecution of Trump for his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election into chaos, and the new filing is an opportunity for Smith to make the case that Trump's efforts do not qualify as official acts. Oh, okay, cool. The Mueller report was 400 pages of "we didn't find anything." This will be 180 pages of evidence, and the evidence will be powerful, undeniable, and persuasive, says attorney Ty Cobb. The issue for the judge to decide is whether it infringes on official acts assigned to the presidency and whether it could chill any decision-making by the president if the areas involved cross that constitutional line. The bulk of the evidence will be out there for public viewing, so this will not be a heavily redacted document. And adding much of the evidence is already public, like that time that Trump called Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. I think that's the guy who he called and was like, "Can you find me some votes? You need to find me like 10,000 votes." So basically, we're about to drop kind of a bombshell on the whole Trump fucking with the election thing. They know the case will not go to trial before the election and they want to have an impact, so now they will lay out the bare accusations and their version of facts without any meaningful vehicle for cross examination or for rebuttal, and no requirement that they actually be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That is an attorney representing Trump said that. Yeah, it does kind of feel to me like a little bit silly almost. I mean, whatever. Yeah, like we do need to continue investigating Trump's involvement in trying to overthrow the government. Cool, whatever. But the fact that these cases are not going to, like, potentially not even be heard, much less decided before election day, it's like, okay, I don't really see a huge point in covering it. Mushroom hunting is a big thing here in PNW due to the amount of moisture. It's about to be the right season for chanterelles again. Usually the first 2 weeks of October, it gets cold enough at night finally to have them pop. Ooh, delicious. I'm not even sure that I've ever had chanterelles. I know that they're really good. Do you think the evidence will actually sway anyone or make a difference? So I think that the point of this, basically the point of this whole thing is to, I think that they're trying to hold Trump criminally liable for his, what they are arguing are like unofficial acts. Because the Supreme Court decided, the president can't be held liable for his actions regarding January 6th insurrection because that was part of his official acts as president. So if they managed to argue in a different court that those were not official acts, then he could be held criminally liable. But I don't know how you're going to trump a Supreme Court decision. So I don't know. We live in a nightmare hellscape. I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic about the weight of the evidence. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think it's good. It sounds like good progress. But like if he wins the presidency, I don't know what is going to happen, even if he is found to be guilty of whatever the specific charge is with regards to January 6th. But as far as the election goes, like, no, I don't think this case is going to make a huge difference. I mean, I've been at the Renaissance Festival seeing people wearing shirts that say, like, I'm voting for the felon. Like, these people don't care. These people don't care about the truth. They don't care about what's good for our nation. You know, they care that this guy seems like a macho man and then they can project themselves onto him. Anyway. Yawn. JD could assume the presidency, maybe. Yeah, set the world on fire. Let's just set the world directly on fire. Let's take out the middleman and just set the world directly on fire. That is the one shit thing about moving is that there's going to be like a wildfire season. Man, it's not too bad in the corner that I'm moving to, but still. I should probably fill my water before we move into one of our proper segments for today. Yeah, Trump's plan is to pardon himself. True. Ellie says it's important to recognize reality for what it is, being able to say we live in a nightmare hellscape authentically while still being able to stand up and do what you do is beautiful. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh. Well, in a box, you're not actually here, but thank you. Holy shit, actually gave 5 tier 3 subs saying I'm not actually watching right now. Hopefully I'm interrupting something fun. Yes, thank you very much. Wow, that's incredibly generous. That's like, those are the $20 a month ones, right? Did you just give me like $100? Is that what just happened? I think that that's what just happened. Wow. And you're not even here. You're not even here to accept my bewildered inability to do math. Damn. 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 Thank you. But yeah, the balance, the dichotomy of going like, yeah, we live in a nightmare hellscape, and I'm going to tell you like it is. We're going to have some real political conversations about it. And then also, I'm going to kill myself if I don't stop talking about this. So let me go work on my video essay a little bit more. I have, I can't do a word count on this. Well, I guess I can like remove some parts of it. But my word count, what is it? Where is it? Tools. Word count. Nope, word count. Presently, I have 990 words in this essay. I basically am done with the intro and part 1. I'm starting on part 2. And then the part 3 is going to be like, I guess like the conclusion or like more direct comparisons. But yeah. There are so many purple names now. Wow, yes, it's true. Dang. Love that. I don't watch this channel a ton, but it's always inspiring. Thank you. Yeah, I am going to be moving away from the kind of day-to-day political content. I'm sure we'll still talk about it on stream. It'll still be part of the channel for a while, but I'm definitely phasing that out at this time. The process has started. We're starting. Look at you people. Yeah, Mick, Gayfesh, Penrose, Nethercat, and Noah Darkly Yours have all got new tier 3 subs. Appreciate. Trump is a Trojan horse for Vance. Oh, God. My name is my fave color now. Purple is such a great color. It's so difficult to get right. I feel like there are a lot of purples that are just not very attractive. Oh, the next challenge is, can we get to 69 likes? That's the next question. Can we get to 69 likes? I think I do want to read this article and like not do a proper segment about it, but I do want to discuss with you all what your thoughts are. Trying to decide whether I should fill my water first. I guess I'll finish my tea and then I'll do water. So this floated across my timeline and I wanted to discuss, you're not a fearmonger. You have sentinel intelligence. Not many people remember Cassandra. She predicted it. In the tragedy Agamemnon, you get Cassandra's full story. In some ways, the Trojan War is really about a bunch of dudes who don't listen to a woman, and it leads straight to the collapse of their civilization. In later retellings, they actually ignore her twice. Cassandra doesn't ask for the gift of prophecy. The Greek god Apollo falls in love with her, puts her under a spell in one of his temples. He tells his pet snakes to go lick her ears, and when she wakes up, she can hear the future. Apollo tries to seduce Cassandra, but she's just not that into him. He consequently has a meltdown, and Zeus tells him that he cannot go backseas on divine gifts, so Apollo finds a loophole, cursing Cassandra. so that when she hears the future and tries to tell people, nobody believes her. Uh, Cassandra predicts the Trojan War, but she also warns everyone about the Trojan horse itself. Nobody listens. They start calling her names. She actually tries to smash the horse open with an axe and gets dragged away screaming. And then we know what happens. Many of us have been identifying strongly with Cassandra over the last few years. We watch the media downplay and dismiss one threat after another. We endure endless opinion pieces about everything from climate alarmism to coronaphobia. Influencers accuse us of hurting everyone's mental health. Strangers call us doomers and fearmongers. Our friends and family treat us like we're paranoid. When we share dozens or even hundreds of studies, they refuse to look at them, saying, I don't want to read anything that'll bring me down. I'm trying to stay positive. Jessica posits that Americans and Westerners in general are suffering from a pandemic of denial, wishful thinking, and toxic positivity. It impedes us at every turn on almost every serious issue, exacerbates our existing anxiety, and contributes to our sense of despair about the future of the planet. But here's the thing. If you're one of these people sounding the alarm, she says you're not a fearmonger. You simply have sentinel intelligence, which refers to a special cognitive ability that allows someone to detect threats before anyone else. Richard A. Clarke and R.P. Eddy talk about this trait in their book, Warnings: Finding Cassandras to Stop Catastrophes. They review a number of natural and economic disasters throughout history, and they write, in each instance, a Cassandra was pounding the table and warning us precisely about the disasters that came as promised. Not only were these Cassandras ignored, but the people with the power to respond often put more effort into discounting the Cassandra than saving lives and resources. Is any of this sounding familiar? Zennies, no worries. Appreciate you hanging out on the website chat. So she says, it just keeps happening. If you have sentinel intelligence, your brain can aggregate and sift through extraordinary amounts of information in a very short period of time, especially when it comes to seeing latent or hidden dangers. You don't get stymied, but what Clarke and Eddy called the, quote, magnitude of overload. Research on sensitive individuals confirms how sentinels and Cassandras think. Social psychologist Sachi Aindor writes that some of us are, quote, chronically hypervigilant and constantly alert to potential threats and dangers. Other individuals, once alerted to a threat, are self-reliant and likely to take protective actions rapidly and effectively. In other words, we are hardwired alarm systems. Groups are more likely to survive when they have a mix of people who are skilled at detecting, communicating, and acting on threats to their survival. Some of us can identify threats just by knowing that something is off. One study in Nature Scientific Reports describes this ability as scene-gist, SCENEGIST. As they explain, scene-gist extracted rapidly from the environment may help people detect threats. The shapes and contours of a landscape can trigger our threat brains before we even know the details of what we're looking at. The findings suggest that scene-gist extends beyond scanning your surroundings for patterns and could also apply to evaluating other types of input like data. If you have sentinel intelligence, you know what it feels like to always have your threat brain on. You know how it feels when you're assessing and analyzing information and something feels odd even before you can articulate what. That's called scene-gist. This is also an avenue of research in psychology called threat sensitivity theory, where researchers study how individuals identify and respond to danger. Samantha Denefrio explains some individuals show a, quote, exaggerated threat sensitivity. On the one hand, this can be maladaptive. On the other hand, it could save you from a deadly virus or a climate disaster. Threat sensitivity also lives on a spectrum. Stephen Ristvet writes in Helion that people on one end are dispositionally hypersensitive to possible threat and thus more prone to anxiety and avoidance. Those on the other end are relatively insensitive to threats and are thus more likely to take unnecessary risks. Some researchers describe sentinels as flowers. A study in translational psychiatry looked at how college students respond to their environment, finding that around 30% react strongly to external stimuli, 40% show a moderate reaction, and about 30% show a weak reaction. They describe the low sensitivity group as dandelions, the moderate sensitivity group as tulips, and the high sensitivity group as orchids. Fun, fun, fun. The science behind when the vibes are off. True. Yes. Yeah, don't get me started on the multitudes who act as if COVID just went poof and disappeared. Yeah, fucking true. Orchids experience more intense reactions to art and music. They pay more attention to detail. They feel more overwhelmed by too much stimulus, but they simultaneously hyperfocus for long periods of time. So you're just describing ADHD here. They also tend to be quiet introverts. They're more likely to feel self-conscious, and they're more vulnerable to anxiety and depression. Terms like orchid and sentinel describe the same overall group, and we find them throughout history. Psychologists sometimes describe them as highly sensitive. They're often ignored, even persecuted for speaking truth to power. Our culture dumps a lot of judgment on them, along with anyone who falls somewhere on the neurodivergent spectrum. We are called weak and emotional, and we are attacked for feeling too much. The data suggests that this is not a weakness, it's actually a strength. And then it also says it's not easy to convince someone to take a threat seriously when you're the only one who sees it. Your mind has pieced together hundreds or even thousands of different data points from research, but also prior experience and observations. You will have trouble unpacking all of that. According to Clark and Eddy, someone with sentinel intelligence may at times appear obsessive and even socially abrasive. Any autists in the chat? Trying to explain how the data works, and people are like, you seem like you're obsessed with this, and I don't like you socially anymore. This research also explains why so many people wait until there's an overwhelming amount of evidence indicating a threat before doing anything. Dandelions and tulips don't respond as strongly to their environments, and they miss the warning signs. If you do have sentinel intelligence, it probably bewilders you how the vast majority of people can't or won't connect all the dots and threads. It's why you're often confused with your arch enemy, the conspiracy theorist. However, there is a big difference. Sentinels care about people and want to keep them safe, including strangers. They're inclined to think about the greater good, and they're more willing to put up with inconveniences for the sake of protecting their group. Anybody who still wears masks? They're also more willing to risk the alienation and sometimes embarrassment of being wrong. They would rather be wrong than risk someone else's life. However, conspiracy theorists do the opposite. Whoa, not what I wanted. Go away. If sentinels display more compassion, conspiracy theorists show higher levels of narcissism and psychopathy. They're less in tune with their surroundings. They show much less compassion. They place a great deal of importance on their own personal rights and freedoms. They give themselves a special role in revealing the truth. And while they portray themselves as highly informed and rational, they tend to string together random facts and observations into narratives with no internal consistency. These narratives often arrive at violence toward institutions and marginalized groups. So this links out to some of the research, by the way. Like, further up, there are a bunch of links. Like, I could click through and read more. I just haven't done that in this particular moment. I did click through and read more earlier when I was looking at this article earlier today. Oh, God. Yeah, you got a gifted sub. Enjoy. Sentinels usually advocate for simple measures, while conspiracy theorists push for violent interventions or radical solutions like suspending the Constitution or kidnapping governors. So this person then draws a comparison to the Trojans and conspiracy theorists, basically, or like the low observational group with here's how this process goes. That thing will never happen. Okay, it's happening, but it's not that bad. Okay, maybe it's bad, but it won't last very long. Okay, it will never end. What's your solution? Well, that won't work. Actually, it's too late to do anything anyway. Everyone's too worn out, and there's no way we could have known. We should just let it happen. Everyone's on their own. Everything's fine. I'm trying to stay positive. It's not my fault. It's yours. And ultimately, what the thing here is like, it's your fault for bringing it up. That's just me adding. Psychologists do have a name for the tendency to shrug off warnings. It's called reactance. Paul Ratner talks about it in Big Think, and he says, not many are big fans of being told what to do. On the other hand, persisting in your obstinance can feel pretty satisfying. Jack W. Brame introduced this idea in his 1966 book, A Theory of Psychological Reactance. His work inspired nearly 60 years of research on how individuals and groups shrug off warnings until it's too late and then they panic. Our survival depends on our ability to overcome these psychological hangups. We also have to get better at listening to sentinels instead of pathologizing them and talking about their social anxiety. If you're a sentinel, it often feels like the slightest suggestion of a threat sets off a cascade of denial and wishful thinking, and now we know why. If you combine all these psychological hazards and you arrive at the current state of affairs, a Western society that remains largely unwilling to recognize threats and face them with simple solutions. I don't think the answer lies in softening our words or coddling fragile egos. That never helps. We just need a little confidence and reassurance that we're doing the right thing. When minimizers call us hysterical doomers, we can lean on the psychology that says otherwise. If you see a threat, there's nothing wrong with speaking up. Someone's always going to feed their own self-esteem by dismissing you anyway. Focus on the 40% in the middle who might listen. With enough effort, we can get through to that 40% of people out there who show some willingness to pay attention. They can fall prey at times to Trojan brain, but they are capable of listening to sentinels, and it's worth trying. So basically, I think the point of this article, someone was wondering, like, what was the point of this article? I think it's in large part to help you feel better if you are the kind of person who is like, hey, you remember when Trump got elected in 2016 and a lot of us were like crying and really upset about it? It's because we could see what was happening and we could look into the future and see what's going to happen. That, like, this is a threat to democracy. This is a threat to queer people. This is a threat to immigrants. You know, and so many people were like, wah, 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 you're just complaining, like, whatever, you lost, haha, you're just upset because you lost. And it's like, no, we could see the writing on the wall. So, and yeah, I guess it's not just about feeling better that you're not a fearmonger, but yeah, that knowing the psychology of this can empower you to say, yo, actually, I'm just part of the 30% of people who can fucking connect the dots. There are two types of people in the world: those who can extrapolate from incomplete data. I love how even when the worry is about radicalized conspiracy theorists, even that gets downplayed as a conspiracy. True. I wonder how many people only look like they're shrugging it off, but are all too aware and trying to keep it together. I wonder if to some extent there are people who like can see how fucked up it is, but don't want to acknowledge the reality, because then it would require them to say that they're wrong, or it would require them to change their behavior somehow. Like, if you're one of the people who's like, I don't believe that COVID is a big deal, if you were to accept that COVID is a big deal and it's killing grandmas and it's disabling children, then I can imagine it being kind of hard to be like, oh, so for the last 3 years of me not wearing a mask, oh, that one time that I said, oh, I have allergies, but I could have actually just been sick. Like, I could have contributed to the death of someone's grandma or the disablement of someone's child. So I do kind of wonder if sometimes it's not just that people are incapable of making the connections between the events, or that they're incapable of reading and understanding the studies, or rather if it's just that, like, they have to remain in denial or they will kind of lose it. You know what I mean? Fiona, thank you. That is incredibly generous. I appreciate that. Fiona just says thanks with a $50 super chat. Thank you so much. Dang. Y'all are so generous today. 155.42. Somebody gave me 5 Australian dollars, and it's not exactly 5 US dollars. YouTube conveniently translates it into real money for me so that I can see what the donations actually are. Nice mug. Thank you. This was a gift from my mother-in-law. But yes, thank you, Fiona. The writing on the wall isn't even the Sentinels thing. The Sentinels, as per this article, are about conscious judgment, not connecting the dots. Or sorry, about subconscious judgment. It's not just subconscious judgment. It does mention that it's both scene gist in the sense that you're just looking at things and noticing a difference in your pattern recognition that indicates some kind of danger. It also does say that it also has to do with discernment of data. Where does it say that? Hold on, let me find it. Nope, that's the wrong tab. Yeah, the findings suggest, the findings from the Nature Scientific reports suggest that scene gist extends beyond scanning your surroundings for patterns. It also applies to evaluating other types of input like data. So it has to do with assessing and analyzing information. Oh my god, I accidentally scrolled up in my chat. Hello, chat, you're back. Fen says, I think often it can feel like you just can't add anything else to your plate, so acknowledging and living while considering a whole ass pandemic and people's denial feels like too much. Do you mean like for people who are, excuse me, the people who are in denial, it's just like you just can't handle it? I mean, to be fair, it probably is to some extent, like, why is this like this? Hold on, I'm trying to share the article and let's see. Can I? Whoa. Okay. I'm sharing you with you in the YouTube chat because you asked for it. But yeah, like I guess to some extent it is like people are overwhelmed and it's a bit of a trauma response maybe, that people dying and like living through a pandemic or living through a natural disaster, those are on the list of like things that can justify a diagnosis of PTSD. Obviously, the diagnostic process is not perfect, but living through a natural disaster, like a pandemic is a natural disaster, and it can have a traumatic effect on you, even if you personally weren't impacted. Oh, there are the people who can see it but stay in denial knowingly. Yeah, I see what you mean. I think a lot of people just fully deny the concept of actions equaling long-term consequences these days. Apparently, high school students have advanced from whippets to galaxy gas now. Whatever makes your brain stops working makes you stop thinking about the world you live in. Right. I mean, wasn't ContraPoint's last public video essay about like her addiction to opium and how it was partially because it was like the only thing that made her brain stop thinking about the bad stuff? There's been a few since then, but yeah, did she? I I didn't. I guess. Oh yeah, she put out like a video essay about Twilight that I didn't watch. I was like, wow, relevant content, and then I didn't watch it. It's so funny how like I most of my subscribers came from talking about ContraPoints, and now I'm just like, yeah, cool. I don't care. I stand by everything I said about her back in the day when I was like, "Yo, it makes perfect sense for her to say this and that." Like back in the day, stand by all those. She's fallen off for me. She's fallen off a little bit, in my humble opinion. Okay, I've got a Lady Gaga segment. We've got Marcellus Williams. Yeah, I just wanted to raise the idea of the Sentinel intelligence thing. Like, obviously, the article is just from some random person. She does cite some research on it, and I just think it's an interesting concept. Obviously, I'm not about to go around and start calling myself a Sentinel. That's fucking weird. The idea is sound, but the article is a wee bit weirdly written. Yeah, I guess that's fair. Again, I think that it's mostly like someone who recognizes themselves as having this character trait of like the hypervigilance that results in having like a Cassandra effect, um, trying to communicate to other people who have that same character trait. There was a UPN show that aired around the same time as Voyager called The Sentinel. Fun. And it does make sense too. Like, this is the same reason why I think that ADHD is evolutionarily adaptive, you know, in the sense that you need some people in the tribe or in the group to be like, "Yo, I think I just saw something." And then for other people to be like, "Yo, I think you're right. That might be a tiger," you know, and like I think that it is positively adaptive in the evolutionary context. And so, and as well as like some of the descriptions in that article basically being like, it kind of seems like when you're describing sentinel intelligence, you're just talking about like neurodivergent people. The sentinel was about a special ops guy who lost his unit in the jungle and then was forced to live alone, which activated his sentinel gene or something, and he gained super senses and fought crime. Fight crime! Sentinel man. Fun times. I'm almost done with my tea, and then I'm going to need to refill my water. Look at that. We hit 69 likes. I hardly ever see it at 69. I always see it at 70. We did it. Yes. Nice. And so many people with your kind, generous donations today. Damn. What a show. What a show we're having. This tea is a loose leaf tea. And while I do have one of those thingies that you can put loose leaf tea in, it does have a bunch of little tiny bits that have floated to the bottom of my cup. Oh no. Ha, the funny weed number. Listen, we're gonna be in a completely different zone if we get to the funny weed number. That's kind of like the next big ultimate milestone. But typically after we hit 69 likes, I'm like, cool, let's get to 100. Yeah, let's go. And then beyond that, it's just like 150, 200, whatever. But like the thing that you're really aiming for is 420. It's true. What do the tea leaves say? They say donate to my GoFundMe. No, I'm just kidding. Good night, Ellie. Have a nice time. Why don't they ever fight law? Why are they always fighting crime? Light up for Luxander. Let's get it to 420 likes. True. Okay. Lala, you did donate. Thank you. I'm not logged into the GoFundMe right now, so I can't check on it. But thank you. What the fuck did crime do to y'all? What did crime do to you? Okay, I think that's pretty much all the tea I can drink without just sucking down a bunch of tea leaves. So I'm gonna put that down. Put that right there. Oh, did I get a text? What's that for? Why you text me? Thank you, Lala. I am wishing me the best for my journey to the West Coast too. I've been talking to my partner about the move part. I'm gonna start talking about like another segment here momentarily. So if you're bored, sorry. Um, but we were talking about like, okay, what's the best route to take? Because we're coming from like Kansas City, and then we're going to fucking Portland basically in January. And I was like, oh yeah, oh let's just go through like Wyoming and then Salt Lake City. Um, but there is some latent anxiety about the whole mountains in January thing. So it's looking like we might actually do the whole actually let's drive through Arizona and through the entirety of California moment. So it's going to be a long fucking trip and we're going to have to stay in hotels for extra nights and it's going to cost more money in gas cuz it's going to be a much longer trip. So it's going to be cray cray. If I could ban anything, it would be crime. True. The elevation can be hard on vehicles too. Yeah. Do the IRL Oregon Trail. Yeah, let's not. Mm-hmm. And packing our entire life into a truck. And like towing my car behind it too. It's gonna be crazy. Spoke with my sister who drives back and forth a lot, and she said it would be a horrific idea to drive over the mountains and recommended Albuquerque. Yeah, I was looking at that. It's like probably going to be like through Oklahoma, through the top of Texas, across New Mexico and Arizona, and then up into California, and then up the I-5 or whatever. So, yay, 5-day trip. I don't even want to make it a sightseeing thing. I'm like, let's just fucking get this done and over with. When I made the Seattle to LA drive a few years back in February, I took Highway 101, the coastal route, to avoid going through the mountain passes in southern Oregon/northern California. Added a few hours to the drive. Like instead of coming down I-5? Oh, fun. Interesting. While you enjoy the climate-controlled truck cabin, think of all the Nazis who also traveled there in the back of that truck. Yeah. I think if you go across Interstate 40, it does technically go through some mountains in Albuquerque, but it kind of goes in between the mountains. interestingly. Also, it's a much better view. The I-5 drive is so boring. Listen, we're gonna listen to audiobooks, right? That's what the plan is, probably. I live right off of 101. It's 1.5 miles from my front door. Nice. Might have to come up through Nevada instead of Cali as well. Am I crazy thinking that interstates are like well maintained? Right? Like, am I crazy to think that going on I-5 would be like pretty clear the whole way? Do you have an audiobook picked out yet? I mean, we're just going to listen to The Inheritance Cycle. Nevada saves you a ton on gas. How do you even, like, how do, like, where? Where in Nevada? Mountain passes can get unexpected snowfall or frozen roads and shit. Okay. We're still workshopping this. Up through Tulatane and Reno. I-5 North is great once you get north of Sacramento. Yeah, I was looking at the 99 south of Sacramento. Anyway, we still got a while. It's good that I have a hive mind that I get to pick the brain of in determining my plans for this. You're driving through GOP parts of California. Listen, I'm driving through fucking Texas. I get I get it. I've taken the Nevada route 6 times and the Cali route twice. Nevada is way better if you're coming up from Arizona. Okay, good to know. If you come up Nevada into northern Oregon. Oh my god, are you kidding? All the way up and then cut back down 84? Jesus Christ, you guys. I hate Cali and the drivers though. Yeah. We all have a neighboring state that we hate the drivers from, you know? Like, I have always lived on the Kansas side of Kansas City, and I fucking hate Missouri drivers, like, so much. Why are they so slow? Why do they never know where they're turning? I watched a Missouri driver recently turn from the right lane. I watched them turn left from the right lane. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Missouri? Get out of here. I moved 1,200 miles to still be right next to Californians. Yeah, sorry. And they love to visit up there. I see tons of posts online of people like, oh, we're from California. We're going to visit Oregon. Where are some good places to visit? Or, oh, we're from California. We want to move to Oregon. Like, God, that's got to be frustrating. As a native Californian, I dislike Portland drivers so much. Yeah, fair enough. Good times, great oldies. Okay, I need to refill my water because it's empty. And then when I come back, we've got like 4 segments to talk about. Kitty clarifies that she hates Portland drivers. Yeah. Speaking of Nevada, some poll I saw was looking really good for Kamala Harris, like double digits ahead good. Cool. I pretty much hate all city drivers. Yeah, no, that's completely fair. City drivers, like, I feel like they're really erratic. Like, they'll just. I was like driving through a big city last year or whatever, and like someone just tried to merge lanes into me. I was like, bro, are you fucking okay? Having to like hit my brakes really hard on the highway in order to not have someone just merge directly into me. Oh, and they weren't even passing anyone. There was no one in their lane. They just merged into my lane, and I had to slow way down so they wouldn't hit me. And then after about a quarter mile, half a mile, they merged back into their lane. I'm like, okay, girl, what are you doing? Insane. If you're going to drive through Arizona anyway, I recommend going north through Nevada because Arizona to California traffic is real bad in the fall. Well, it's going to be January, so it's not. We're not going to be dealing with like the fall travel stuff or holiday travel. But yeah. I personally hate my fellow suburban drivers the most because they all drive like octogenarians. That's the problem that I have with Missouri drivers. I'm like, why are you so slow? Why do you seem to not know where you're going? Get it together. Get it together. And then Kansas drivers are like, people complain about how we're too fast. Like, basically. Okay, riveting conversation. I'll be right back. I'm going to fill my water. I looked at the route. It would end up being 3 12-hour days, Kansas to Albuquerque, then to LA, Nevada, then on to Western Oregon via 84. Yeah. Okay, that ends up being a little bit shorter, it almost seems like, rather than going through California. Hmm. When someone in front of you makes almost a complete stop before they turn. Yeah. Come on. See, the problem when I'm bitching about Missouri drivers not knowing where they're going, I mean like they slow down near like every intersection because they clearly don't know what street they're supposed to turn on. And then they fucking turn from the right lane across traffic into the left lane. Like, God. Anyway, okay, I'll be right back. I'm not going to change the screen or anything because I'm not going that far, okay? Don't go anywhere. I'll cry. Hit the like button. Thank you. Love you. Ah, beans. I'm back. My dog chewed up the left side of my glasses while I slept. Oh, that's rough. That's difficult. Okay. Wonderful. We love water. It's so good for you. Okay. Let's do segment. Are you ready? Let's go. Let's fucking go. Okay. I know water is amazing. I always put lemon in my water because yum. Yeah. Water is amazing. I like putting flavor in it. The current flavor is tea. I already did tea flavor, and it had caffeine in it, and I'm still gonna find out tonight if that was a mistake. Okay. I don't want to allow ads. Will you let me view the article without ads, please? I would like to not see ads. I guess I'm gonna have to allow ads on this fucking webpage. That's annoying. I don't think even once I've ever talked about Lady Gaga, but we're gonna talk about Lady Gaga today. I don't know if y'all remember way back in the day, like, God, 15 years ago maybe, I was a teenager, there was speculation about Lady Gaga. A kind of speculation that we're probably well familiar with by now, in the day and age of Iman Khalif and all this, the transvestigation. I don't even know if we were using that term at the time, although, to be fair, I was a little bit less in the loop of, like, what's hot in the trans community. But yeah, people were saying, oh, Lady Gaga is a man, she has a penis. She even famously did an interview with Anderson Cooper where, yeah, I don't think transvestigation was a concept. I mean, it was a concept, but the word didn't exist back then. But like, Anderson Cooper asked her directly, basically, about this rumor, and Lady Gaga is like, oh, well, let's see if we can find it, actually. I wonder if we can find it so that I'm not just telling you what it is. Yeah, okay, let me get my headphones. Ah. Okay, let's talk. Let's look at this original thing
There was that
here.
rumor that you had a male appendage, that you were a hermaphrodite, and you joked about it on the stage last night.
Maybe I do.
But it's interesting.
Like, just a 60 minutes interview, and her mouth is just full of like tomatoes or something. I don't know what she's eating.
He's so terrible.
But it's interesting. A lot of artists would immediately put out some sort of a statement saying this is absolutely not true.
It's just ice. She's just chewing on ice.
You have fun with it.
So why the hell am I going to waste my time and give a press release about whether or not I have a penis? My fans don't care, and neither do I.
Yeah, classic. We love it. So that happened. Well, this video was only uploaded 3 years ago, but I think that this was quite a long time ago. But yeah, so it was, people were making a big deal out of it, and she had this response that was just like, yo, I don't, like, my fans don't care about whether I have a penis, and neither do I. Like, and yeah, it is true that I think a lot of people, I remember I used to watch, I think I spent like one pretty hardcore weekend binging Rachel Oates content. And like, I know that she's had some issues that people have had with her previously, but the thing that turned me off to watching Rachel Oates is that people would say she had big hands because she was gesticulating a lot in the videos, and her hands just looked kind of big because they were, very far in front of her. And she was like, people were like, oh, do you have man hands? Are you a trans woman? Are you really a man? And she got kind of upset about it. She was like, no, I'm not, and that kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. And so by contrast, Lady Gaga just being like, I don't care. Am I really going to give a press conference about whether I have a penis? Like, she never answered the question. Never answered the question directly. And the reason that we're talking about this today, obviously this like 15-year-old thing, yeah, if she does have one, she's doing some pretty extreme tucking. She's keeping it together for sure. I think there was a recent interview, I believe. Okay, so this article is from September 18. Lady Gaga never spoke out against rumors claiming she's a man, quote, because I didn't feel like a victim with that lie, adding, I'm used to lies being printed about me. She recently appeared in the second episode of a show called What's Next? The Future with Bill Gates and explained her decision not to speak out against the rumors that dominated headlines early in her career and claimed that she was actually a man. The pop icon famously shut down a question about the rumors by telling CNN in 2001, yeah, in that interview we just watched, why the hell am I going to waste my time and give a press release about whether or not I have a penis? My fans don't care and neither do I. So in this show with Bill Gates, she says, when I was in my early 20s, there was a rumor that I was a man. I went all over the world. I traveled for tours and for promoting my records. And almost every interview I sat in, they said there was this imagery on the internet that had been doctored. And they would say, oh, there's rumors that you're a man. What do you have to say about that? Like, apparently, practically every interview she did was asking her to address these rumors. Some people are growers. Well, yeah, I think the thing about tucking is that it's hard to keep the testes in place. They tend to want to slide out, as is the nature of the inguinal canals. But anyway, she says, the reason why I didn't answer the question is because I didn't feel like a victim with that lie. And I thought, what about a kid who is being accused of that, who would think that a public figure like me would feel shame? She says, I've been in situations where fixing a rumor was not in the best interest of the well-being of other people. In that case, I tried to be thought-provoking and disruptive in another way. I tried to use the misinformation to create another disruptive point. So basically, I think that she's saying, not directly, but she's basically saying, if there was someone who was younger who was trans, how would they feel seeing me react with this big, oh my God, I'm not that, how could you say that? Like, if she's saying that it's shameful, how is that going to negatively impact people who are being accused of this, like, whether they're trans or not, She should have just rolled with it and said she was a man and trolled. Yeah, I mean, I can see how that could have gone down. Like, if she had taken the angle of like, so what if I have a penis? I'm proud of having a penis, like I could see it kind of heading that direction. But I appreciate her perspective on this, and there's more to the quote. But yeah, she's basically like, I don't think that me correcting this rumor would be in the best interest of any other person who could be accused of this. Yeah, this interview was from 2001, lesser-known Eminem album that came out right after Recovery. Before he switched up his style was a collab, Bad Meets Evil album, where he joked about this Lady Gaga having a penis thing. Yeah, this gossip is super old. Yeah, Gaga was causing an existential crisis with elements of psychosis to weird transvestigator paranoics before it was cool. Yeah, Entropy fan. She was trolling the transvestigators before it was really popular to do that, I guess. Nowadays we have people like Mia Moore on Twitter. When people are like, oh my God, I can tell you're a man. And then she posts a picture of Sigourney Weaver. And she's like, oh, really? You think this is me? Do you think I'm a man? And then people start transvestigating Sigourney Weaver and saying like, oh my God, your jawline or whatever. Gaga does kind of summarize by saying, I've been used to lies being printed about me since I was 20 years old. I'm a performer. I think it's kind of funny. So yeah, I mean, it's not like a huge story, but I thought it was worth just talking about, transvestigation against cis female performers, athletes. It's not new. I mean, and we did cover, I don't remember her name. We did cover recently that sprinter from back in like the 60s who was transvestigated, and she gave birth the following year, but she never received an apology or a retraction. Her world records were stripped because people were like, oh, she's a man. So this is, yeah, by no means is this a new concept. And it's just so interesting. Like, why do people care? Why would it matter? I love having out and proud transgender people representing us. I love that. It's great. But I also don't think anybody should be obligated, especially like because being trans means you're at greater risk of violence, and it's like statistically harder for you to be successful than a cis person in the same field. I don't think it's incumbent on any trans person to be open. And honestly, like, as my content is about to shift away from the politics stuff, I'm probably not going to bring up the fact that I'm trans very often. I'm sure people will be like, oh my God, what's wrong with your voice? Or whatever. You know, that's just what I have come to expect from a more mainstream audience. But sometimes it's nice to not have to think about it. Sometimes, like, I want to talk about something else. Plenty of trans people who are successful just want to live their lives and happen to be trans. It's not fair that every trans person has to be an activist, has to be a spokesperson for the entire community. So, like, even if Lady Gaga were trans, it's not her obligation to come out. It's not her obligation to take on that role. But yeah, she just treated it like it's no big deal. Like, yeah, so what if I have a penis? I don't care, and my fans don't care. Who cares? Why is this why do I have to discuss this in every interview? Like, how degrading is that too, to have people asking about your genitals in basically every interview you're doing as a musician who wants to be known for her music, having to deal with that, I guess, accusation all the time. But it does get you really accustomed to extreme lies that the media will make up about you. I guess you get used to it after a while. Just like, yeah, I wonder what crazy nonsense people are going to say about me today. I wonder what lies people are going to make up about me right now. So Lady Gaga, stay winning, by winning. I know, by winning. Wow, I just revealed how old I am. But basically, she's been, whether intentionally or unintentionally, she's been a trans ally for a long time. We stan. We stan. All right, I'm going to add that to my list. It's going in my notes. Lady Gaga in my notes. What is today, y'all? What's the date? I can find out very easily. It is the 25th. Wow. We're getting close. Here in like less than a month, I'm going to really buckle down and start finding an actual place to live. I know generally where I'm going to live, but I don't have like an apartment locked down. Okay, that's in my notes now, though. So things are going to get serious before too long. Trans misogyny affects cis women too. It's true. Actually, I think statistically, trans misogyny affects more cis women than it affects trans women, because there are more gender nonconforming, or like not even gender nonconforming. Like Lady Gaga has always been fairly feminine, except for like that one time she did drag. But excuse me, statistically, there are way more cis women, and I think way more cis gender nonconforming women than there are trans women in the whole world. So, like, and we've discussed this before. I'm not going to hammer on it too much because we're kind of rounding the end of the segment here. But when we're talking about the bathroom issue, when we're talking about the sports issue, any of these situations where we're speculating on people's bodies and where we're trying to determine like, ooh, who's really a woman, that impacts cis women the most. Like butch cis women will have men follow them into the women's restroom to be like, hey, you can't be in here. And they have to be like, yo, I'm a female. What the fuck are you doing in here? Like cis women are impacted by trans misogyny in the same ways, and perhaps to a greater volumetric degree than trans women or any trans people. Yeah, almost as if the transphobic, gender critical feminists who, yeah, used to be anti feminist don't actually care about the safety and rights of any women. Huh. Weird. Gaga also helped transition the military from Don't Ask, Don't Tell into being out in the military. With her constant awards stumping in speeches, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was initially considered a liberal kindness from the POTUS Clinton, but we later learned that that's still cruel. Like, you couldn't be in the military at all as a queer person. And at the time, they actually thought it was woke to allow this, like, don't ask, don't tell policy where you can be gay, you just can't say it, you can't say anything about it. Lay also points out the great thing about her response is that not only might it help a young or insecure trans person to see her treating this like a ridiculous thing for people to talk about, but it also shows the interviewers watching her be interviewed that it's ridiculous. And when that happens often enough, rumors like that have a harder time getting off the ground in the first place. Right. If she's not going to have a big reaction, and if they're not going to get the answer that they're looking for, there's no point in asking her. I do want to just, I guess, right at the end here, for funsies, what was his name? What was he called? Joe Calderone. This was Lady Gaga did like a drag photo shoot, basically. And the character is called Joe Calderone. So, classic. That's Lady Gaga in drag, smoking a cigarette and doing a French inhale. We stan. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Ooh, we're at 74 likes. That's cool. Only 45 viewers. How dare people leave while I was talking about Lady Gaga? You're not allowed. It's not permitted. Lady Gaga. Okay. What else do we have for today? We have Marcellus Williams. We have a Brianna Wu segment. And ideally one Trans 101 segment. What a nightmare. Okay. Delicious. Okay, what are you doing, sir? Cat's making noise. Okay. I'm gonna wait a minute to go to the restroom, and then I will do that. Oh God. Hi. What are you doing? He's like, I'm ignoring you. That's what I'm doing. Stupid cats. Ignoring me. How dare you? I need to, like, make a list of dragon movies to respond to. I already have a couple tabs open from the last time we were talking about this, but I need to actually make a doc and, like, create a list of movies that I need to, like, rewatch and react to. Pretty low engagement stream. Not low engagement. Y'all are texting plenty in the chat, but we just keep having these dips where people aren't sticking around. It's only the real fans who are sticking around today. No fake fans. Excuse me. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to the streams, too, as I switch to the video essay content, because there's a good chance that, like, one of the streams we do every once in a while is going to be, like, a post-mortem stream. You know how PhilosophyTube, she posts post-mortem streams where she's like, yeah, let's talk about the video essay I just uploaded. I'm also probably going to upload the video essays as YouTube premieres, so I'll be in the chat, like, talking to you all during the premieres also. You can't get rid of me that easily. I'm trying to shake y'all off like fleas, and it's not working. Premieres sound fun. Yeah, it just seems like a necessary step if you're doing video essays, I will say. Oh no, I want that open. Come back. I need that. Okay, I'm just going to run to the restroom, and we are going to finish more segments momentarily. Enjoy some music. I don't normally do music during the I'm just going away for a moment segments, but we are going to do that. Enjoy some music and don't go anywhere. Please hit the like button if you have not already. Okay, I'm back. Jump scare. Was that better? Was having music on better than me just leaving for 3.5 minutes and not letting you listen to any music or whatever? We're trying new things, okay? We're experimenting. All right, now we're down to 34 viewers. It's going to be difficult for us to get to 100 likes today. Oh well. Okay, I guess let's talk about fucking Brianna Wu. That's probably the easiest segment to talk about next. Although, we should vote. We should vote now. What's going to be the Trans 101 topic we talk about today? Or the Queer 101 topic we talk about today? Or if there are any suggestions, maybe. I don't know, let's just pick, like, 3 to vote between. And shit, I guess we can just start at the top of the list and just work our way down. Should we do bisexual versus pansexual? Vote 1. Explaining what non-binary is? Vote 2. Or talking about what detransition is? 3. Vote. Vote, 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 vote. Bi versus pan, number 1. Explaining non-binary, number 2. What is detransitioning, number 3. We're getting back to the fucking basics here, okay, guys? We're getting back to the real basics. Hey, there's 80 likes. That's cool. We're not going to start this segment right now, but we're going to vote. Bi versus pan, okay? We have 3 votes for bi v pan. It's like my oldest video that still gets clicks. I don't know if a newer version of it is still going to get clicks. We will have to find out. It's going to be so weird seeing a new video on my channel that's like Queer 101. Bi versus pan. Okay, 1, bi versus pan. 2, explaining what non-binary means. Or 3, talk about what detransitioning means. Or like what it really is. Because people tend to refer to it as like, oh, you just, you stopped taking hormones. Well, that means you're detrans. Like, no, actually, I still identify as trans. I just stopped taking hormones. I think the detrans topic is probably the least strong of those options. And is a little bit more like myopic and me bitching about a very specific criticism that I have received in the past. Remember back when Calvin Guerra accused me of being detrans because I was like, I stopped hormones and it's okay. I'm not dead. I'm not any less valid. Probably 2. I know, I'm sorry for making you choose things. I'm so mean. Okay. I appreciate your commentary. I will let you know what I have decided later. Right now we're going to talk about Brianna Wu. Wow. Ugh. Brianna Wu finally admitted that she's a trans woman, which is great because it means that a lot of her comments come across more like internalized misogyny as opposed to, internalized transphobia, not internalized misogyny, as opposed to just a cis woman who's hating on trans people. Although she does have a lot of internalized trans misogyny because a lot of her, I feel like I don't talk about Brianna Wu that much because first of all, she is not hugely relevant, but also because the things that she usually complains about are trans woman issues. She's messy. She talks about trans women being like Like, you're not very attractive. You need to work on that. Like, you keep acting like a freak. You need to stop doing that. A lot of her commentary is very specifically targeted at trans women. We're talking about her today because she has swerved out of her lane where she talks about trans women and Israel and stuff. She has swerved out of her lane into issues that have nothing to do with her. And that is the issue of like how we talk about pregnant individuals on the policy level and on like the health scale level. So here we go. We're talking about pregnant people, menstruating people, all this stuff again. Thank you, Brianna. Appreciate it. So she posted saying, as a transgender woman, I am appalled by the efforts to turn abortion from a women's issue to a pregnant person's issue. Like, okay, as a transgender woman, mind your business. Mind your business. This has nothing to do with you. Thank you. Appreciate it. No. Stop. Wait. Don't. I don't care if some rando trans man decides to get pregnant. Abortion is a women's issue. Also, I think that she distinguishes women. I think that she refers to like cis women as just women, and then trans women are trans women, because it's not an issue for all women, because women like Brianna can't get pregnant, and so it has nothing to do with her. Again, she continues, it is the height of narcissism. She cannot spell the word narcissism, presumably on a device that has autocorrect on it, to attempt to rewrite language to make trans people the center of it. Not everything is about us, and if we have any interest in keeping cis women as allies, we will shut the hell up and stop this insanity. Which, question, Brianna, when are you going to take all of this shut the hell up advice that you constantly are dispensing? Interested minds would like to know. There are a couple issues with this. Like, I don't care if some rando trans man decides to get pregnant. Like, first of all, trans men get pregnant pretty often. It's probably not like, like 100%, and it might not even be 50%, but plenty of trans men get pregnant before they start hormones. Maybe when they're still relatively early in the process of realizing that they're trans. There are like trans men who had babies before they realized that they were trans. And then there's the more common idea of like a trans man who has transitioned a little bit and, has had top surgery. So like the image of like a flat-chested person with a big pregnant belly. We've seen that before. We've discussed it on this channel before. And going like, yeah, abortion is a women's issue. Okay, so I can acknowledge that typically when Republicans, for example, are coming after the right to abortion, they are thinking of it probably in terms of we want to restrict women's mobility in society, and that like they are primarily targeting women by doing so. But it is not exclusively a women's issue, which is kind of the problem. This is what we've discussed before, the whole Anna Kasparian thing, J.K. Rowling complaining about the term menstruating people, is that it's not exclusively a women's issue. There are other people who are impacted by it, and just because they are not the primary political target does not mean that it is a women's issue. Like, that is an incorrect framing. It creates this situation where anyone who has gotten pregnant is considered a woman, and anyone who can't get pregnant feels like less of a woman, whether you're a trans woman or whether you are a cis female who is just infertile. Maybe you had to have an emergency hysterectomy because of cancer or something, it is an issue where cisgender women are also negatively impacted by calling this a women's issue, because it's like, oh, well, am I not in the group anymore? So saying pregnant person, saying it's the height of narcissism to attempt to rewrite language to make trans people the center of it. Trans people are not the center. if you say a pregnant person, it's like to make trans people the center of it, it would be to say, no, this is a trans man's issue. Framing it as a women's issue puts women at the center and marginalizes trans men and other trans people who can get pregnant and intersex people who can get pregnant and all of this. Like, Brianna does not seem to have a concept of the gravity of the situation either. This is something that we've discussed before, that like medical neglect is it's a prevalent issue for lots of people in the medical community. Basically, if you're not like a cis white man, you're not going to have your medical stuff taken very seriously. You know, we know that women sometimes will be reporting issues for years that their doctors are brushing off as anxiety. Oh, you just need to lose weight, that kind of stuff. And it turns out that there's some serious issue, you know. But there is like a very specific problem of medical neglect for trans men and other trans people who can get pregnant when we call this a women's issue. Because, and I don't even have to claim like an esoteric kind of vaguely this might harm people. No. We have data. Like, not only do trans people in general avoid getting medical care because of the potential of being misgendered, but trans men avoid seeking gynecological care because of the potential of like not only being misgendered, but also potentially being harassed. Like, why are you in this women's office? And then we have cases like Robert Eads, EADS, if you want to look him up, Robert Eads. He died of metastatic ovarian cancer because he was declined care by like half a dozen different gynecological doctors. Like, he had cancer. He had been diagnosed with cancer, knew he had cancer, was seeking care for it. And this, the Wikipedia claims more than 20 doctors refused to medically treat him on the grounds that taking him on as a patient might harm their practice. He was finally accepted for treatment in 97 after having been diagnosed in 96, but the cancer had already metastasized to other parts of the body, rendering any further treatments futile. So, people die when you treat abortion and gynecological health care as women-only issues. You know, I'm not evoking, like, I'm not like, oh, it hurts to be called a woman when I'm trying to seek this care. Oh, it hurts that this is like it's a women's issue or a female issue. It's not about that. It's about being medically accurate and about making sure that people who need this care are able to seek it. Because the doctors themselves form a bias that only women need this care. And sometimes it is explicitly transphobic where they're like, well, maybe this will teach you a lesson, you know? Like, maybe you should learn that you're not a man, you're actually a woman. So for Brianna, who is not able to get pregnant, she is not part of it. She is not a cis woman. She is not a trans person capable of getting pregnant. Like, she has no stake in this, but she is perpetuating basically transandrophobia is one of the terms that we use to discuss this issue. Like, transphobia against trans men, telling them that we need to shut up. That like that I as a trans person, like that I as a trans person who can get pregnant, or that any trans man who can get pregnant needs to shut up about our access to this care. And like the potential harm that this does. Much like trans people avoid going to the bathroom in public. Okay, so here's this thing. Trans people avoid going to the bathroom in public, which means we have a greater instance of urinary tract infections and bladder infections than the general population. And then also, we are less likely to seek medical care because of concern about being misgendered, and in particular, out of concern of how we're going to be treated if it impacts our reproductive or genital areas in our bodies. This is a like double whammy combo that hits trans men harder than it hits other groups potentially. So, I mean, she's wrong about a lot of things a lot of the time. It's just rarely does she swing wildly out of her lane to come at me, basically, not directly me, but people like me, and to say that, like, we need to shut up and stop this insanity. Like the insanity of wanting trans men to feel comfortable going to the gyno so that they can seek preventative cancer care, so that they can seek abortion care, so that they can seek birth control. Imagine if the doctors themselves could expand their view of their practice. Because here's the thing too, yeah, like, not, like, it's not just that trans men can't seek the care, it's also that when they seek the care, the doctors don't know how to treat us. Like, that doctors don't know whether birth control is recommended while you're on testosterone. It is. Testosterone is not a birth control. People get pregnant while taking testosterone. And, like, how much research is there in whether you should take combination birth control with estrogen in it? Like, is a doctor just going to try to throw combination birth control pills at you? Well, that might give you some feminizing effects that you don't want while you're in the middle of testosterone treatment. Like, for doctors to be able to give informed, compassionate care to trans men, they have to view their practice as being not exclusively directed at women, with the expectation that, like, yeah, feminine looking people are going to come in here and they're going to need, like, very standard female care. Again, I'm not saying that the standard of care for typical female care is great either. There are plenty of times where cis women are bleeding heavily or having issues like bloating or weight gain or whatever. They get brushed off, and then it turns out that it was something more serious, you know? But it's worse when you layer this on. Like, not only are you going to be dealing with the normal marginalization that women experience in the medical field, but also you're going to have doctors refuse to give you care because you are not a woman. And that's why it's important to approach this as a neutral thing. Like, yeah, a pregnant person needs pregnancy-related care. A pregnant person needs abortion. Not every woman needs abortion. Not every woman can get pregnant. Not every woman is pregnant at a given time. It's only pregnant people who need access to abortion. Just like menstruating person, or like a person who menstruates. People who don't menstruate don't need pads and tampons. It's just about who, like, actually materially needs access. People who don't have a cervix don't need pap smears, really. You get a pap smear to detect cervical cancer. If you don't have a cervix, you don't need one. So it's like, who needs pap smears? People with cervixes. Not all women have one, whether they were born without one or whether they had it removed. And there are plenty of people who aren't women who do have a cervix and therefore need pap smears. It's just about being medically accurate in a way that enables everybody to seek the care who needs it. Yeah, like, there are so many barriers to break through anyway. Like, yeah, for example, if you're seeking out a hysterectomy and then also dealing with the transphobia on top of it, not only are you going to get the whole, oh, are you sure you're not going to meet a man someday who wants to get you pregnant? But also it's like, well, as a transgender, this you have to now go to a psychologist to get assessed, or I won't give you this surgery. I'm curious, how much has Brianna Wu talked about abortion before? Yeah, that's a great question. Like, is she an abortion advocate? Does she regularly talk about how important abortion access is for cis women, much less for trans men? Or is she only bringing this up to try to exercise power over other people in her community? And finally, like, it is worth pointing out too that it's not like we're trying to strip women of their label of women. You know, if you're a pregnant woman and you're going in for gynecological care or you're going in for abortion or whatever, the doctor is still going to refer to you as a woman, most likely. It's like, no one's taking this from you. We're not trying to say on an individual level, if you're admitted to the obstetric wing of the hospital, you know, you're personally going to be called a pregnant person and not a woman. This is about policy. This is about how we describe, like, the medical field in general. Pregnant people need access to abortion. Pregnant people have the right to autonomy over their bodies in choosing whether to continue a pregnancy, right? You as an individual are still a woman, and that's fine. Like, obviously, Brianna can't get pregnant. I'm just saying, like, a hypothetical cis woman still gets to be a woman. No one is trying to take that away. If anything, we're just trying to avoid having, like, trans men be called women, like, not only by virtue of being associated with the need for women's care, quote unquote, but also, like, yeah, again, that association does cause trans men to be misgendered actively, which is an additional stress during a time where you're already stressed. If you're seeking an abortion, babe, you're already stressed. If you're about to give birth, babe, you're already stressed. You don't need to add on to it, having to fight with your doctors to be like, dude, I have a beard. I'm a man. Please stop calling me mom. Like, oh, how's mom doing? I don't know. There isn't one in this room right now, actually. You know, Jesus Christ. Imagine trying to provide, like, competent and accurate medical care. People like Brianna Wu and Anna Kasparian are why public speakers' influences, whatever at a notable scale, should be legally bound to disclose their income and the source of the payments. Honestly, like, who's paying you to do this? You know, she's got that little tick right there, which means that Twitter is paying her for these awful takes. Also, this whole thing is born out of the dumb idea that trans issues are losing issues for progressives, assuming there's any thought from it, a thought behind Wu. Yeah, I think that this is kind of where Anna Kasparian and Jenk were talking from the Young Turks network, basically trying to treat trans issues like, oh, this is a losing issue. Stop trying to stand by the term birthing people. Stop trying to stand by having trans women in sports. Like, yeah, trans issues famously good for Republicans in elections, except for every time they've tried to run on them in the past few years. But however, it's really important to throw trans people under the bus to win. Right. Like, campaigning against trans people has caused a lot of Republicans to lose their elections. It's not a winning issue for them. So why would being pro-trans be a losing issue? You know, when obviously it's not popular to be anti-trans, at least among, like, Republican voters. They seem pretty annoyed about it, actually. But yeah, it does seem like this is Like, oh, stop trying to advocate for trans people. It's such a losing issue. We need to stop. Cis women won't be our allies if we don't stop. Any cis woman who takes issue with including trans men in these discussions, like, they're not progressives anyway. They're about like one step away from just being gender criticals. Trans men deserve to be included in these conversations. Trans people who can get pregnant deserve to be included in these conversations. And Brianna Wu doesn't have a stake in this. So why is she talking about this except to just basically declare herself the police of trans people and what we're allowed to talk about? Anyway, it just was a good opportunity to talk about some of these things that we've talked about before on the channel, but it's good to touch base again. And talk about that, after the fall of Roe v. Wade, trans men are also sitting here having to fly across state borders to get health care and are limited to clinics that are pro-trans. And there aren't that many. Like, if they want competent care, we have fewer options. Fewer options than even cis women who have fewer options now than they did this time last year. So it's just not right. It ain't right. All right, now it's in my notes. Thank you, Gayfesh, for retweeting that. Or I guess for tweeting that. Cool. Now we have 2 more segments. This is not going to be in any kind of sensible order. I'm just going to have to talk about it in whatever order the tweets came in. Okay. Yeah, next we're going to talk about Marcellus Williams. Yawn. 83 likes. Wow, we maybe might actually get to 100 today. Maybe, perhaps. If we get like $45 more donated, we'll reach the goal, which means I'll do whatever you want. Do you want me to flex like I usually do? Do you want me to go get the dragon horns and finish the stream with the dragon horns on? I can make it happen. Water is good for you. Hail hydrate. Hey. Is that Bree? What's up, Bree? Welcome in. We're just ramping up to a new segment. We just finished one. We're ramping up to another one. We're trying to get to 100 likes today. That's the goal. I've smudged my glasses once again. Yeah, it's hard not to do that. crazy how I rest my voice for 5 seconds and we drop like 5 viewers. It's so weird. Inconsistency. Oh my gosh. My voice is tired too. Drink more water. As much as I feel like it's pointless, I should probably also start making a point to share the links to the stream on Twitter and stuff. I'm definitely going to start trying to post the video links there more as I start posting like longer form content. Hey, they were up to 92. 92 likes. If y'all haven't heard of Marcellus Williams, this news has been going around this week, and unfortunately, he has been executed. He is a black man, was a black man, who had been convicted of, I believe, a murder that it turned out he was innocent of. You know, like there was no DNA evidence connecting him to the crime, and the prosecutors even ended up going like, actually, we think that he shouldn't be executed. Like, it seems like there was a mistrial. The victim's family also did not want him to be executed. And so there were all these petitions and people like calling and leaving messages at the governor's office, and people trying to appeal to the Supreme Court. Like, the U.S. Supreme Court can step in for executions like this and say, whoa, pause, there was a mistrial, whatever. And nothing happened. Like, nothing helped. This is Marcellus. And, you know, people were saying, hey, we need to share this story. We need to contact these people. We need to get involved. And he was executed yesterday. Missouri executes Marcellus Williams. Whoa, can you please go away? Thank you. Despite the prosecutors' push to overturn his conviction. The prosecutors wanted to overturn his conviction. Williams long maintained his innocence and that the killing was the killing of him was opposed by the victim's family, the jurors, and the office that tried him. He was killed via lethal injection at age 55. Missouri's Republican Attorney General Andrew Bailey pushed forward with the execution against the wishes of the St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. He was convicted of the 1998 killing of Leisha Gale, a social worker and former St. Louis Post Dispatch reporter. He was accused of breaking into her home, stabbing her to death, and stealing several of her belongings. However, no forensic evidence linked Williams to the murder weapon or the crime scene, and as local prosecutors have renounced his conviction, the victim's family and several trial jurors also said they opposed his execution. Who is this? Tricia Rojo Bushnell, Williams' attorney, said, "We must all question any system that would allow this to occur. The execution of an innocent person is the most extreme manifestation of Missouri's obsession with finality over truth, justice, and humanity at any cost. Tonight we all bear witness to Missouri's grotesque exercise of state power. Let it not be in vain. This should never happen, and we must not let it continue." So, yeah, there are some issues with this. You know, there's the obvious, like, this is the problem with the death penalty, is that some percentage of the time an innocent person is going to get caught by this. Where is this? I have it too. So, yeah, Conyer posted, being pro-death penalty is supporting the state brutally murdering innocent people approximately 4% of the time. There's an estimation that if all death-sentenced defendants remained under sentence of death indefinitely, at least 4.1% would be exonerated. Oh, and also this article concludes that this is a conservative estimate of the proportion of false conviction among death sentences in the United States. So at least 4% of the time, people who are sentenced to the death penalty are innocent. This is obviously one of the major problems with this, is that there are always going to be innocent people getting caught up in the system. And it's one thing if an innocent person is imprisoned for a period of time. At least while they're in prison, the case can be worked on. The case for their innocence can be worked on. But once you execute someone, there is no recourse. There is no retrial. Where is that from, Noah? So I guess the Missouri Supreme Court and the governor, Mike Parson, both had the option to halt the execution, which left his fate in the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court, which also declined to pause, like to stop the execution, to give this man a retrial. This tweet, Kami Thembo says, I just don't know how you see 1 million people sign a petition to stop the execution of an innocent man and the murder victim's family also asking to stop the execution and see the state continue to do it and believe in the United States government at all. That was from CNN. Okay, thank you. And this person says, I hope it's illuminating to everyone that on a bipartisan basis, those in power do not care what people think. The Atlanta Democrats building Cop City, Biden committing genocide and refusing an arms embargo, the Supreme Court doing basically anything, Missouri Republicans murdering Mr. Williams, all of it. Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, I'm wondering if there's going to be retaliation for this, because, you know, like with George Floyd, it was such a violent thing, you know, that happened. Like, you know, he was killed by a police officer in broad daylight, and that really fired people up. And I wonder if this is gonna not have the same impact, because this was just like, this was more procedural. But for 1 million people to sign a petition, and for probably millions more beyond that petition, knowing that this was happening, that nothing linked this man. Yeah, this dude, as of recording this, he was murdered yesterday by the state of Missouri. And more broadly by the United States government, because the Supreme Court declined to intervene. Nikki says the U.S. is the only Western country that has the death penalty at all. Yeah. Most other countries have figured out how to do this shit elsewise. And I was just reading something, and I didn't collect the data about it, but I was reading something that was saying that the death penalty not only does it serve as an actual deterrent for crime, but in places which have the death penalty, crime is actually higher. So it's like, okay. Also worth noting that Biden and Kamala have worked to keep people on death row, black men in particular. Biden's Justice Department is fighting vigorously in courts to maintain the sentences of death row inmates. If you say my client has an intellectual disability, the government says no, he does not. If you say I'd like new evidence, they say you aren't entitled to it. Death penalty opponents expected Biden to act, within weeks of taking office to fulfill his 2020 campaign promise to end capital punishment on the federal level and to work at ending it in states that still carry out executions. However, Biden has taken no steps toward fulfilling that promise. The Justice Department confirmed that since Biden's inauguration, it hasn't agreed with a single claim of racial bias or errors that could lead to the overturning of a federal death sentence. Americans increasingly oppose capital punishment. However, like Biden, again, a campaign promise that he just failed to address in any form or fashion. They also gave the Supreme Court less than 24 hours to address the case. Therefore, the Supreme Court might not have even seen it in time. Yeah, we love that. Kamala has also said nothing about this. It is really worth pointing out that the Democrats have removed the call to abolish the federal death penalty from their 2024 party platform, which I saw people already discussing last week. And it's just pretty glaring in this moment that an innocent man was just murdered by the state yesterday through the procedural process. You know, it's not like this was some individual cop doing something inappropriate and violent. This was the system of allegedly innocent until proven guilty. That's what this is supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to work, and we all know that is not how it works. But this is what they say. This is the ideal that we're supposed to be reaching toward. Innocent until proven guilty. But 4% of the time, when the state executes someone, roughly 4% of the time, conservatively, that's an innocent person. I also saw this claim, and I don't know how accurate this is. I haven't looked into this part further, but this person claims that Marcellus Williams was not set to be executed this quickly, but when the former governor resigned and Mike Parson stepped in, he hastened the execution. This person claims that Mike Parson is a murderer and his legacy will be that he lynched an innocent man. This person says, I think it's important for people to see the public face of Mike Parson, the governor who up till now refused to stop the state-sponsored killing of Marcellus Williams, an innocent man. Carrying out this execution is depraved and immoral. At the time, it could have been stopped. And then this user points out, they are telling us very explicitly, we can kill whoever we want for whatever reason we want, and you can't stop us. I don't think petitions and phone calls are going to cut it without the implicit threat of those turning into more direct action. Yeah, and some people are like, yeah, here's the thing. These people who are responsible for this man's murder are just going to keep living their lives. They're going to go to sleep happy tonight. They're going to wake up tomorrow and just keep on keeping on. And I honestly think that their lives should be a living hell. I think Mike Parson in particular and the Missouri Supreme Court members should not be able to take one single breath in peace. And I want to know, like, I feel like this is the kind of situation where we should see protests, widespread action. And I haven't heard anything about such, so I don't know if we're going to see that kind of retaliation at this point. But, like, when petitions don't work, when calling the office of the governor doesn't work, what recourse is there? I thought procedurally killing black people was what the system was designed to do. I mean, that's ultimately the problem, is that, you know, we moved from a situation where, as a country, we were just enslaving and killing black people at whim, to then we have to at least pretend to honor and offer them a procedural avenue of some kind. And now we have this like school to prison pipeline, and prison is just a legalized form of slavery because slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. And it is showing them, it is like showing black folks and all of us, but mostly black folks, that, yeah, you can be innocent. You can follow the law and be put to death by the government. They have they own us. We are a possession of the government. They can just choose to give us a mistrial. Like, and like, what was the reason? Is it explicitly because they want to exert power over black people? Is it because Marcellus Williams was pro-Palestine? And in his final days, he wrote a poem about Palestinian children. Is his final words, I don't have this posted up right now, but his final words, like you make a written statement as like, this is your final words, your final statement. He said like, Allah is the answer in every situation or something like that. Like, he was a Muslim man, a black man. Is it because the lawsuit for a mistrial? Because he already had spent a good amount of time in prison. I'm not sure exactly how long, but he had already spent a good amount of time in prison. So like the cost of the mistrial, or the like having to acknowledge that you fucked up by giving this man a guilty verdict despite the fact that there was no evidence, and then you jailed him for a period of time. Like, is it because it's too expensive and it's too difficult to, you know, the pride of this ultimately white supremacist governance system? Like, it's astounding. And I don't think there's any justifiable reason for this action. And I think that these people who are responsible, again, should not take one step, should not take one breath in peace. I think they deserve to, every single moment of their lives, be reminded and be told how morally reprehensible this is. I don't think that they should go to sleep at night feeling safe. Parsons said in a statement, the governor said in a statement, no jury nor court, including at the trial, appellate, and Supreme Court levels, have ever found merit in Mr. Williams' innocence claims. At the end of the day, his guilty verdict and sentence of capital punishment were upheld. Nothing from the real facts of this case have led me to believe in Mr. Williams' innocence as such. Mr. Williams' punishment will be carried out as ordered by the Supreme Court. Like, no DNA evidence linking him to the crime, the scene, or the murder weapon. What does it mean to have your guilt proven if it requires no evidence to say, well, you did it, you committed the crime? Because some people feel like you committed the crime. Like, it would be fascinating and probably would make me lose even more of my hair to try to go through the whole trial and see where the mistakes happened. And it's also worth pointing out, as we get close to the end of this segment here, that there are other situations where we may need to try to step in. Rebecca Watson points out that, of course, now it's too late for Marcellus Williams, but it is not too late for Robert Roberson. On October 17th, Texas is set to execute him for a crime he absolutely did not commit. And she implores us to make it a big deal. I think this is a link to her video on this. Innocent man to be executed over junk science. Yeah, Rebecca does videos about like science education and like always coming at that from that like skeptic angle, which I appreciate. So I guess like final call to action here, that we need to get in contact. There's a petition to Governor Abbott to stop the execution of Robert Roberson. Robert would be the first person in the U.S. executed based on the discredited shaken baby syndrome hypothesis, unless the court or Governor Abbott intervenes. He's an innocent father with autism who has spent over 20 years on death row in Texas for a crime that never occurred. He was committed to being a present father to his chronically ill 2-year-old daughter, Nikki, when he was granted custody in November 2001. Tragically, Nikki passed away from prior medical conditions after a short fall from bed, and Mr. Roberson was wrongly convicted of her death. He was a special education student when he dropped out of school after the 9th grade. He had undiagnosed autism spectrum disorder. Hospital staff did not know Mr. Roberson had autism and judged his response to his daughter's grave condition as lacking emotion. He was prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced to death using a now discredited version of the shaken baby syndrome hypothesis. The overwhelming medical and scientific evidence now shows that Nikki died of accidental and natural causes. Mr. Roberson's innocence case is attracting growing and widespread support from eminent scientists, doctors, faith leaders, innocence groups, former federal judges, best-selling novelist John Grisham, and the lead detective who testified for the prosecution, who now believes he contributed to an innocent person being sent to death row. So this is the phone number. If you're from Texas, call Governor Abbott, 361-320-8100. Robert Roberson has spent 20 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit and is set to be executed next month in October. So if I'll put a link in the description so that y'all can sign the petition here, because really we should be anti-death penalty, period, right? I believe this is one of the things that I don't like about governments, is that they absorb all the violence into themselves. They say, oh, violence is bad, you're not allowed to do violence, and then they do violence. And they can claim that it isn't even violence. Oh, it's not violent, it's justice. But at the very minimum, while we're still working on eliminating the death penalty, let's at least try to make sure that these very obviously innocent people don't continue to be murdered. Oh, wow, that's great. During a motion to vacate hearing on August 28th, a prosecutor from Williams' trial admitted that he had removed a potential juror from the jury pool because, like Mr. Williams, that potential juror was black. Yeah, okay, what does it mean to have a jury of your peers if they are like, oh, well, you're black, that means that you're going to be biased? Like, who is a better peer than a black person in the community? That's insane. I'm trying not to cuss a lot because it's easier to not edit it out, but oh my God, that's insane. But it's like, I know somebody who was convicted on a marijuana charge that, like, no one was allowed to be on the jury who believed in the legalization of cannabis. Like, so cute. We love that. Anyway, please sign the petition to save Robert Roberson from the same injustice. I mean, an injustice has been done to him anyway. He's been in prison for 20 years, but let's try to save his life, as we were not able to save Marcellus Williams' life. And honestly, again, if you live in Missouri, let's see some momentum for some direct action. Let's see some momentum for very politely talking to these people like Mike Parsons in, any restaurant you see them in public. Just a quick little refresher. Are following the law in every way, shape, and form. So anyway, I don't really know that I have a lot else to say about that. The Midwest sucks, and yeah, people have been fleeing Missouri for years. Not only do they do this kind of racist stuff, but they also do anti-trans stuff, and it just feels like, it's not safe to be there, and it's not worth it to try to be there. But at the same time, if everybody leaves, there's going to be plenty of black folks who are just going to continue to be killed. Not everybody can go somewhere else. Not everybody wants to go somewhere else. It sucks to leave the place where you were born and to feel like they don't want you there and to feel like they own you and they can just kill you on a whim. But yeah, again, links in the description for Robert Roberson. And, I can't say I don't want you to call Mike Parsons' office every day for the rest of forever telling him what a horrendous human being he is. Okay. Just got that added to my notes. Cool. Deeply frustrating. Difficult to talk about. Let's cool down for a minute, and then we're gonna do a queer 101 topic to see how that content goes on the channel for now. We're almost to 100 likes. Following that horrendous segment, it feels a little bit weird to ask for likes, but still, it will help the show. More people will get to hear the story if you interact more with the show. Welcome back, Kitty! It's a terrible world that we live in. Oh my god, my computer just freaked out for a second there. A queer reading of 101 Dalmatians. True. Don't forget to drink water, everybody. Drinking water is so important. Importante. Resting your voice is important too. Ooh, I'm gonna eat hot dogs tonight. That's what I've decided is for dinner tonight, is hot dogs. Which is exciting. It's definitely bad for my cholesterol, but listen. You have to balance, you know? You have to eat hot dogs. And oatmeal, you know? Chicago style? Probably not. A lot of the time, okay, so hot dog deviation moment. I typically, if I put anything on my hot dogs, which sometimes I don't, I do ketchup and jalapeno, like pickled jalapeno slices, which is making my mouth water just thinking about it. That's like my preferred way of eating hot dogs. And I was for a while getting like the cheapest hot dogs possible, but now I don't get them very often, so I get like Nathan's all beef hot dogs, and they're pretty yummy. And then I also got some brats because my partner likes brats, so I can just shove my thing in the microwave, but I'm gonna actually have to pull out the frying pan to fry up the brats. We got to 100 likes. Yes, 100 likes. We did it. And we only need like $45 to hit the stream goal. Hell yeah, dude. And don't forget, I'm going to be on the Transatlantic Call-In Show tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central if you want to check me on there. I'm basically like going to stop talking about trans political content on this channel, and then just like I'm going to get my fix every week on Takis. That's where the trans political content is going to exist, is just me on Takis. Excuse me. We have Arden tomorrow with you on the Transpositions show. What is the schedule? I have it somewhere. Like, who's supposed to co-host with me on... Who's going to be with me on Takis tomorrow? Takis. Oh my god, is it in the pinned messages? Takis. Okay, yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to be with Josie Caballero, and Luxander. And then Arden is going to be on the Transpositions show later in the evening. Cool. I hope y'all have fun. You're just collecting Takis hosts, because you've had Ben on before. Yawn. Okay. I didn't really count the votes earlier about which queer topic we should cover, so I think I'm just going to unilaterally decide. Man, the question, yeah, do I want to do bi versus pan, or do I want to do explaining non-binary? We will have more Ben. I'm moving in with Ben. Nice. Nice. I know he prefers to do shows in the evening. He doesn't love that we do Takis in the middle of the day. It's understandable. It's kind of busy in the middle of the day. People are working, etc. 42 concurrent viewers. Hello. Welcome in. Bi versus pan totally won. Yeah, we're going to at least pretend that it did. Oh my god, what is abro? Do I have to talk about yet another term? What is abro? I'm getting mad at you people. Not you specifically, but the queers. I'm getting mad at you, the queers. Stop coming up with new terms to explain the same fucking shit over and over again. Bi versus pan, except it's actual combat. True. Man, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm excited about those hot dogs. Yummy, 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 yummy. I should probably limit myself and only eat 2 of them, but I want 3. Abro is when you're sexually attracted to your bros. True. You fucking goober. Mortal Kombat, but it's all the different identities. Yeah, which one's gonna come out on top? Hmm. I refuse to discuss abrosexual. I will not. I will not. I will not validate this. Oh my god, how do we even start this? How do we even begin this topic? Oh my gosh. What time is Takis tomorrow, UK time? It should be 8 p.m. for you. Let's discuss pan versus skillet. I guess I don't know the difference between a pan and a skillet. Okay, bisexual versus pansexual. I have talked about this before. It's been a really long time. I'm revisiting the topic, okay? I'm making a brand new. We're going to address it brand new. Okay? Kind of like, okay, some people call themselves bisexual. Okay, we kind of have like a general idea of what bisexual means, what even is pansexual, and then like there are some other terms that are kind of also falling under this broad umbrella, okay? There's the typical terms that you're familiar with, right? The gays, the straights. We call that being monosexual. If you're like a man who is only attracted to men, that's gay. That's homosexual, right? If you're a man who's only attracted to women, that's straight or heterosexual, okay? Follow me. So sometimes people are attracted to both men and women. Whoa, crazy concept. We generally call that bisexual, right? Um, this starts to get a little bit fuzzy when you're like, okay, but what do trans people count as, right? Like if a straight man is attracted to a trans woman, is that gay? Okay, this is a running question that's been asked for years. Generally speaking, if a man is attracted to women and also happens to be attracted to a trans woman, he's still straight. Okay, guys, listen. Come here. Come closer. You're still straight. Okay? The penis is in a feminine context, if she even has one. We're making assumptions. Here's the problem. Stop making assumptions about trans people's bodies and how they want to use them. Okay? Anyway, so yeah, if you're attracted to women in general and a trans woman happens to be attractive to you, cool. That's because she's a woman, right? Like, congratulations, you're still heterosexual. Some people use the term pansexual, right? Pansexual, like some people have used this in the past to mean, well, I'm also attracted to trans people, therefore I should call myself pansexual. Like there's a whole thing where like, oh, like I'm a man who's attracted to women, but if I'm attracted to a trans woman, I guess that makes me pansexual. No, not the case. And then when we say bisexual also, there's this kind of assumption that it's like, I mean men and I mean women. But that, like, a bisexual person can also be attracted to trans people of either gender, because, again, that just falls into the normal being attracted to men and women category. But you can also be attracted to non-binary people. The Bisexual Manifesto, which was written in, like, I think the 80s, makes a bold statement that you should not assume that by us saying bi, that means that gender is binary, you know? I read it a long time ago on the channel. It's like 2 minutes long, the Bisexual Manifesto. So even, you know, the OG bisexual activists are saying like, we're trans inclusive. We're inclusive of the idea of non-binary gender. And of course there are probably some bisexuals out there who are like, I wouldn't date a trans person. I mean cisgender men and cisgender women. There are transphobic people in all demographics, okay? Just like there are some straight people or gay people who would say, I don't date trans people, okay? That, personally, my opinion, is built on a bunch of assumptions about trans people's bodies, what they're like, what we want, all this kind of stuff. And also a grave misunderstanding of how impactful hormones are on the body. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about bi versus pan. So you might wonder, like, okay, well, if bisexual is inclusive of trans people and even non-binary people, what is the point of the word pansexual? Well, pansexual really definitionally means that you are attracted to people kind of regardless of their gender. Like that their gender isn't a primary factor for you. It's kind of the, you know, I'm just into people, man. I just want to get to know your mind. You know, those types of people. I'm exaggerating. I'm being a little bit silly, but pansexual really means like I don't care about your gender that much. I'm just attracted to you as a person. Like your genitals don't really matter to me. We'll figure it out, you know, basically speaking. So people sometimes have made the distinction that like, oh, pansexual is the version of bi where you're into trans people. That's not actually the case. It just means like irrespective of gender, it doesn't really matter, right? So bisexual can be trans inclusive. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's transphobic to call pansexual like the I'm open to dating trans people sexuality, but it is inaccurate given how we use these terms in the community. And we're not just limited to those two terms, you know? We also have omnisexual and polysexual, which I have discussed in the past. So polysexual is kind of the very broad term as opposed to monosexual. You know, we mentioned earlier, if you're a man and you're attracted only to women, you're monosexual. So polysexual is kind of like the broad term for anybody. And like bisexual is also kind of considered an umbrella term. So if you identify specifically as pansexual, you also kind of fall under the broad category of bi, because you can be attracted to people of multiple different genders, essentially. So polysexual is kind of the broad term. And some people use polysexual to mean like, I'm attracted to women and non-binary people. You know, like, because you're polysexual, you're attracted to more than one type of gender, whatever. People can use this term in whatever way makes them feel the most comfortable, right? Because that's part of the deal here, is that even if the word specifically means something, you might see people using it in a way that you're not expecting. Like, a pansexual might actually care about the person's gender. Or sorry, hold on, what am I saying? Sorry, no, a pansexual person who doesn't care about the gender of the person they're attracted to, they might, for the sake of, familiarity or the sake of ease of communication, they might identify as a bi person because that's the more common term. Because, like, some of this is vibes based, if I'm being completely honest. This is kind of how things work in the queer community. I'm so sorry if you're new to this concept, but you know how all sorts of different people in the community say, like, oh, I'm gay, I'm so gay, even though they might be bisexual or whatever. Because gay is kind of an umbrella term, you know? Bisexual is kind of an umbrella term. Sometimes people choose which label based on which flag they like the best because the myopic distinctions don't really matter that much, you know? It's very personal to each individual. So whichever word you think is accurate, plus whichever word you think has the right vibes, plus whichever word you think is going to help you communicate quickly how you're going to explain this to people, these are all factors. And so even though you might think, oh, technically I know, I listened to Luxander explain to me what pansexual means, don't then take that and like lecture somebody about like, oh, well, you call yourself bi, but you don't actually care about gender, which means you're pan. We don't do this, okay? Terms are extremely fluid in the queer community. And at the end of the day, these distinctions don't matter that much, okay? So moving on, we've got polysexual, and then you've got omnisexual. I'm attracted to Omni-Man. Anyway, omnisexual. So omni and pan both mean all. So they're both like, I'm open to dating basically anybody of any gender. But there is a connotation with omnisexual that it also means like that gender does matter. So it's kind of, you can be attracted to anyone of any gender, but the gender does matter to you, which you might think, wow, that sounds like bisexual. And like, yeah, again, it's just about vibes, really. For a period of time, I thought, oh yeah, omnisexual is a good word for me. I don't feel that way anymore. I felt that way for a very short period of time, which is part of why I'm remaking this video, because I have a whole part at the end of that video where I talk about omnisexual. I personally call myself queer because technically, I think you would say I'm bisexual or omnisexual because I am attracted to people of different genders, but the gender is a factor. Like, I'm attracted to men for specific reasons, and I'm attracted to women for specific reasons and specific qualities. And like, I'm attracted to trans women for specific reasons. And like, so each group, like, yeah, I'm attracted to men because of their like a lot of what would be considered masculine qualities, right? So technically you could say I'm bisexual or omnisexual, but it's like fluid. It changes from one day to the next. And I don't like getting in the weeds when I'm having these conversations. I don't want to have a conversation about what my specific labels mean. And I have personally always defaulted to, and I think it's okay for people to do this, to default to the broadest term possible. I view queer as an even more broad term than bisexual, even though bisexual is a very broad term for anybody who is like attracted to people of multiple genders. I like queer because it doesn't have this assumption. Like, I think when people hear bi, they hear two, and they're probably thinking, oh, you're attracted to men and women, even though the bisexual manifesto explicitly says that it's a poor assumption to make that gender is binary, you know? So for the sake of communication, for the sake of what feels most comfortable, personally, I like queer because we don't have these like, oh, let me tell you what exactly it means. It means specifically I'm attracted to people regardless of gender, or it means specifically I'm attracted to men a little bit more than women, or whatever it is. I think it's totally okay and completely fitting within the norm of queer presentation and like queer communication to just say, yo, I'm queer. And if you're interested in me, then we can suss that out, except that I'm married. So we're not sussing anything. But yeah, is there anything else I should add to this? I feel like demisexual and pansexual are very close partners. Yeah, in this particular video, I'm not even getting into demisexual because that's the like asexual spectrum. And I do want to honor that by having its own video, although I do not know that I am the best person to talk about it because I am not asexual. I think it would be fair to say that I'm demisexual. But anyway, look forward to that. That's a whole other video that we'll do before too terribly long. And I will be relying a lot more on chat to help round that out a little bit since I do not know a lot about it. Yeah, there's a. I'm mostly bi, but if a humanoid alien showed up, I wouldn't say no. I feel like being open to anyone based on vibes more than body parts is why I could be called pan. Yeah, I think, yeah, being open to anyone based on vibes more than body parts is generally technically considered pansexual. And I do think, yeah, omnisexual is. It's a term that has been used to describe characters like Captain Jack Harkness from Doctor who seems to not only be attracted to people regardless of gender, but also regardless of species, because whenever he encounters a moderately attractive humanoid, he's like, how you doing? And like, yeah, so omnisexual also kind of has this funny connotation that it's like, oh, I'm also open to humanoids of other alien species or something. I don't know. It's kind of silly. Mm. I think we crushed it, y'all. I don't know that there's anything else I could possibly say about bi versus pan. Go with whatever label you want. Go based off of which flag you like better. I don't care. Do whatever you want. All right, if there's nothing else for us to add, then it's going to go in my notes. Bi versus pan redux. Cool. I just slammed all the way through that. Slam in the back of my Dragula. What's up? Beyond Storm Chasing says, hey guys, not to worry you all, but there's a good chance that Helen is going to make landfall as a Category 3, 4, or possibly low chance 5 hurricane. The models are trending toward a very strong hurricane. Cool. If you live in Florida or anywhere near there, you should probably have left already, if I'm gathering this information correctly. Still sitting at 100 likes. $45 more and we'll hit the stream goal. I don't know that that's going to happen today, but you know. I still haven't watched season 2 of Invincible. I need to do that. I need to get around to doing that. Alabama, Georgia, Florida Panhandle. Don't sit on this. Landfall is tomorrow night. So yeah, if you have somewhere you can evacuate to between now and tomorrow night, you should, if you're in those areas. Yeah, exactly, MJ. I use queer meaning I really don't want to explain to you what I like. It's all good as long as you're not a fascist. Yep, pretty much. Gorgeous. Look at that. We have had a very successful stream tonight. We're redoing Trans 101 content. Do you want to hear the corny intro line to my Last of Us video? I'll tease it. Even though the video is probably not going to come out for another... I don't know. I might be able to get this figured out pretty soon. I was going to say another month, but we'll see. I do lean into the straight hate when they say alphabet people. I go, yeah, the full acronym is LGBTQIAAP2SXYZ. Nice. Lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, intersex, asexual, aromantic, ally, pansexual, two-spirit, etc. I'm guessing that that's what all that was. Yay. Can we please make GSM a thing already? Gender and sexual minorities? Yeah, I've heard that before. I've simply reclaimed alphabet people. True. Like, you can't be phobic against me. I'm immune. But the thing is that gender and sexual minorities also includes women. Maybe not in the sense of, like, statistically women are a minority, but, like, for the purposes of, like, marginalized status and the fact that minority means, like, a marginalized status individual. I think that that's the one flaw with GSM. Not if you've taken the red pill, then men are part of gender and sexual minorities. True. I want to read this Reddit thing that just came up real fast. Just because we're having fun. When you're talking about fascism, aside from the ethnic minorities, it really is women and other sexual minorities they're after. Yeah, but if I feel like if you're offering GSM as a replacement term for LGBTQ, then, like, we're getting to a place where we're starting to muddy the waters of what we're talking about. I just say queer most of the time. Yeah, I prefer queer. If we're trying to say LGBTQIA+, just say queer. Anyway, this just popped up on my timeline and I want to talk about it because it looks horrendous. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that he absolutely ruined the birth of our child? Hi, everyone. Our daughter is now 8 weeks old, so obviously this whole argument has gone on a very, very long time. We both have been holding grudges and neither of us think that we are wrong. My husband does not know I am posting this, so I'm going to keep it as anonymous as possible. When I got pregnant with my daughter, my husband started in immediately telling me that I should have a home birth. I really do not know why he was so adamant on it, but he was. At first, I brushed him off and told him I would think about it because I was only 6 weeks pregnant and the birth seemed so far off. Of course, it came quickly, and my husband would literally speak over me at doctor's appointments when my doctor would ask if I had a birth plan. This caused a few arguments between us in those 39 weeks of pregnancy, but I never really changed my mind. Eventually, my husband's mother sat down and talked to me, and she told me all of the reasons why they did not want me to go to a hospital for the birth. I expressed my concerns about, the safety of the baby and myself, but just like my husband, she brushed me off. I ended up telling my husband that I would take myself to the hospital when it was time and that I did not want a home birth. He simply acted as if he didn't hear me. We met with a doula who was also very pushy. I felt overwhelmed and not supported at all, and I was 36 weeks at that point. So when I went into labor, I was 39 weeks, and I absolutely begged my husband to take me to the hospital where my doctor is, and he wouldn't. He spoke to me condescendingly and called the doula instead. I was in labor for 3 days, active labor for the last 22 hours. I cried the whole time. I felt something was wrong. I was scared, and oftentimes they left me alone. The doula told me that if active pushing and labor reached 24 hours, I had to go into the hospital. I remember thinking that I could not decide which was worse, staying in labor for another 2 hours or having my baby right there. When she was finally out, I don't even remember wanting to hold her. I just remember crying out of relief. Obviously, I'm okay now, but I did not have a good experience. On my first appointment after birth with my doctor, she was very shocked I had the baby. She was concerned, and I was so upset. I told my husband that he absolutely ruined it for me. I truly never want to go through that again. I hear mothers say that they forget all the pain the second they have the baby, but I didn't. I love my daughter so much, but it was horrible, and it was entirely his fault. So I have told him that several times. He rolls his eyes every time and tells me how mothers are, quote, strong, and how I am not trying to be strong. I told him that if we ever have another baby, which he wants, that I will never do a home birth again. His response was, "We'll see." I cannot possibly be the asshole here, can I? Everyone around me is acting like this is so normal, but it's not. Yeah, false imprisonment. That's crazy. Right, so this is just torture and attempted murder? This person says it's not a home birth. This is an unattended birth and domestic violence. Yeah, take that baby and leave. Take the baby and go. Where's your mom in this situation? Why are you listening to his mom? Oh my God. Not cool. This just happened to cross my For You page on Twitter. Yeah, 3 days of being in labor. That's wild. You didn't even have a midwife. You had a fucking doula. You could have gotten a midwife with medical training. Listen, I understand there are criticisms of how doctors handle this, like that they'll just induce you at 38 weeks because the doctor's going on vacation and they don't want to have to deal with you going in labor while the doctor's on vacation. Like, yeah, there's a lot of fucked up stuff they do. I know people who've had home births because they prefer not to go through what they're put through in the hospital. But that's like a woman choosing to have a midwife at home instead of like just being forced to have a birth at home, unattended, like for 3 days. It's not just the medical training. Hospitals have equipment if things go poorly. Yeah. What if I guess like in 2 hours, they would have taken her to the hospital if she hadn't given birth to the baby, if she like needed a C-section. Like, am I wrong? Like, sometimes a C-section is an emergency situation, right? Like, you could imminently die. Yeah, just remove the baby from the story and play it back and listen how that sounds. It's terrible. Yeah, if the umbilical cord gets wrapped around the baby's neck. You could die, the fetus could die. If it's an internal bleeding thing, you can die really quickly. If there's no technology around, yeah, no blood infusion. Also, the trauma from pregnancy is going to affect the child. Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ. Anyway. Okay. My throat is sore. 4 hours of talking. Yeah, having a baby in general is kind of an emergency. My brother and my sister were emergencies. They scheduled mine after finding out my mom can't give natural birth. I think it should only be used if absolutely needed, because most women who get a C-section end up with endometriosis. That is a long, painful 30 years till menopause. Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Whoop. Well. I think that just about covers it for today. Be safe if you live down near Florida. And I hope that you all have a good week. I'll see you if you want to come hang out for the Transatlantic Call-In Show tomorrow. It's at 2 p.m. Central Time. And I don't have any plans to see you until next week on Wednesday after that. So, if you aren't not a Takis fan, then I'll see you on Wednesday next week. All right? Be good. Or at least don't get caught. Okay? Good night.